And we are live. Welcome to the NBA Deeper Dive. It is Monday, January 1st. And yes, I just had to look to my right to check the date. This should be the date that is easiest for me to figure out. But I am Josh Engleman. I'm joined by Adam Scherer. We are brought to you by Better. And we're also top of the league. Suck at Newcastle. 6-game slate ahead of us for today. We did get one big piece of news earlier. That is no Kevin Durant tonight, but everything else is sort of just waiting in the wings. We're going to break it all down right now. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Adam, feeling better or worse right now?
Better. Still not great, but better.
Okay. That'll work. Better is better than worse.
That is true.
When you feeling better, is that BETR?
Obviously, I was going for the ad read there.
Perfect.
I'm a pro. That's what I do.
I am also feeling better, where you can get up to $500 on your first deposit if you click the link in the description. Perfect. Oh, man. You ready to break this bad boy down? I like this slate, and I'm really excited that it's over at 9.
Yeah, it's like manageable. We talked about it this morning. If they're going to cut off a late game, this is the type of slate you do it. 4-game night slate too, starting at 9 is pretty nice. I just wish the prize pools were bigger. I mean, DraftKings, I'm sure I assume is full by now. It was almost full at 4 p.m. Their 4-game night slate is $20K to first. Like, I just wish they would make the stuff bigger.
Yeah, to me, there's no real reason for that to not be 50K, and I think that it would not struggle to fill.
Yeah, and the main tournament's 300K prize pool, like filling at 4. Probably pretty easily could have been 400K.
Got to keep an eye on that night slate. I wasn't planning on playing it. I kind of just want to go to bed, but we'll see. You ready to talk about this one?
Yeah.
Here we go. Cleveland Cavaliers, 2.5-point underdogs in Toronto, 227 total. Former Toronto Raptor OG Anunoby was plus 20 something in the first 3 quarters for the Knicks. So that appears to be going well so far for New York. It's incredible what happens when you replace RJ Barrett. We'll talk about RJ Barrett in a bit. I assume I have a ton. 14% ownership right now on the DraftKings side coming into Caris LeVert, 25% to Isaac Okoro. That is on FanDuel, however. Same kind of availabilities for Cleveland that we've had for a while now. No Darius Garland, no Evan Mobley. Not much really here has changed for me. I'm still not getting to LeVert. I am getting to Mitchell, basically with the field. Ultimately, I just don't have a ton of exposure here to Cleveland. It's just not that great of a game, particularly when you have a game on the slate with a 260 total.
Yeah, for sure. I think Cleveland's kind of just full of guys where if you're getting to them, fine. They're relatively low owned. They have good enough players. But Caris LeVert, 5,800, shooting guard, small forward, does look like the most useful piece, I think, on DraftKings at 14% owned, 13% chance of being optimal, likely to give you around 28 minutes, useful positional eligibility and all of that. One thing I do think is interesting, he's very, very difficult to get to still, but Jared Allen has been playing huge minutes recently. You and I had talked about it when Evan Mobley first went down. Did we think that Jared Allen would start playing more? And there have been games where he's in foul trouble and obviously doesn't play as much. But when he hasn't been in foul trouble, he is playing massive minutes. 40 minutes last time out, 36 and a half the game before that, 35 and a half or 36 and a half. I don't remember, somewhere in that range, a lot of minutes. He's still, and this is just one of those things that we talk about a lot from a projection standpoint in the industry. The aggregate is around like 32 minutes tonight, and that's completely reasonable. But if you wanted to push this a little bit and go 34, 35 minutes on Jared Allen, I think that is completely reasonable also. We have a 34 and a half minute projection on him, so we are a little bit more aggressive with that. And I think that's good. Like when you can, like, obviously there's still games where he's just not going to play as many minutes for one reason or another. But when you consider that the game where he doesn't get in any sort of foul trouble and it's competitive, that he is giving you or can give you 40 minutes, like 34, 35 works. And so he is really expensive. It is still tough to get there, but I do think it's a spot where maybe he's getting slept on a little bit. We have him with a 7% chance of being optimal, only 5% ownership. So I do think that's an interesting tournament play. Same goes for Donovan Mitchell, who's 9,500, 9% projected ownership on DraftKings, 13.5% chance of being optimal. Going a little bit under owned, played 36 minutes last game. That was the game where, we had talked about it and you weren't really sure how much he's going to play coming back from a prolonged absence with an illness. We got 36 minutes. He's averaged 38 minutes per game in the games without Garland this year. Would not surprise me at all if he plays a couple more minutes than he did last game.
I wanted to add on to your Jared Allen thought process here. If it helps you, makes you feel any better, if you want to project any additional minutes, Toronto this season, 26th in free throw rate offensively. Not a team that's typically grabbing a lot of fouls. And if you're not going to be getting to the line all that frequently, you're probably not putting the other team's center into foul trouble all that often. So this feels like a spot where he could fall into those minutes.
Agreed.
And yeah, like I have 11% Mitchell. I certainly wouldn't mind any more. Like I would take whatever I could get here. He is the full source of all of their offense right now. How do you want to handle Karis LeVert? Because at this moment, it feels like 28 minutes is sort of like the most you're going to get.
Yeah, I think that's the correct projection. I do want to walk back one thing I just said about Jared Allen. The industry aggregate is about 34 minutes. My eyes jumped a spot. So everything I said about the playing time is still true, just not the part about him being projected for 32 minutes industry wide. But yeah, LeVert probably giving you around 28 minutes. Obviously, an outside chance that he plays more. At some point, maybe they start giving him more minutes, but they certainly don't need to. I think expecting around 28 makes sense, but at that price tag, he still looks reasonable.
All righty. Phil with the super chat. Josh's juicy bid of the night, FanDuel and DraftKings. Jordan, should I know what that means? All right. Juicy bit of the night. I have a lot of currently questionable Terry Rozier right now. So if he is projected for the 4% ownership that we have, I'm going to say that Terry Rozier on DraftKings is my juicy bit of the night. And I would love to take credit for the next one, but I'm going to give Adam the choice of juicy bit of the night on FanDuel.
I have no idea.
Well, I don't have an idea either, but I want to involve my co-host on the show. So Adam, can you give, oh, never mind. Phil with the super chat. I didn't do this. Adam's awesome sauce play of the day.
I'll get back to that one when I'm done running my stuff.
Okay. Phil, Adam will hit you with his awesome sauce play of the day. We tried. Isn't that a show of gimmicks? The Toronto Raptors, different looking team now. Emmanuel Quickley in, RJ Barrett in, OG Anunoby and Precious Achiuwa, and I guess Malachi Flynn out. Seems as though we have everybody we would normally want to have for Toronto. And the ownership on DraftKings is coming into three people. 32% is coming into Emmanuel Quickley at 5K. 12% is coming into RJ Barrett at 5,900. And 13% coming into Jakob Poeltl. Let's start with the new guys. Quickley just looks fantastic. And he would have to be really limited in minutes for 32% ownership to look like the wrong answer.
Yeah, he just looks really good on DraftKings. He's more expensive on FanDuel, and I think he's fine there, especially if he starts. But on DraftKings, it's just so difficult for him not to look good at 5K. If he starts, I assume he's playing 30 plus minutes. If he comes off the bench, he's probably still playing like 28 or something. There's no real reason to think he's not going to play substantial minutes for this team. And he's just cheap. He's good. There's no real reason not to like him at that price. You can obviously get into the ownership question of it. 32% ownership, 24% chance of being optimal. He's going a bit over-owned, but still one of the more likely players to be optimal at 24%. Just looks really, really good.
Yeah, I have 58 right now. I don't really think that there's anything I would want to change here. It's just it's a price tag that we're not going to see. If they traded for Quickley like this, my expectation is he's going to be playing more minutes moving forward by a lot than he was playing for the New York Knicks. This 5K price tag is a New York Knicks price tag. What about RJ Barrett? Ownership at 12% now. I don't have a great feel of minutes or what they're going to do here, but at 30 minutes, shooting guard, small forward, I like the thought process of getting to him, especially with that position and flexibility.
Yeah, I think you can kind of view him like he is, or like you would when he was on the Knicks. Yeah. We obviously don't know exactly how many minutes he's going to play. You never knew how many minutes he was going to play with New York either. Sometimes he would close, sometimes he wouldn't. Probably going to be the same thing here. Some games he closes, some games he doesn't. They still have Trent. They still have Schroeder. There's plenty of different closing lineups that they can go with. So yeah. I think basically viewing him the same way as you would have with the Knicks makes sense. And I think at 5,900, he's just a solid enough play. Quickly certainly looks better because you're expecting a big role change for him from the Knicks to the Raptors. I'm not expecting that for Barrett, but still a good price tag at 5,900, good positional eligibility.
And we could also find out that there is a role change for RJ Barrett heading into Toronto. He has been under the thumb of Tom Thibodeau for his entire career at this point. We have no idea what he's going to look like under different coaching with different guys around him. Like maybe this is the unlocking of RJ Barrett. We have no concept there, but at 30 minutes, he is a very reasonable play today for Toronto.
Yeah, my thinking on Barrett is like I agree he could improve just in the sense that it's new coaching. Like for example, Embiid is a better fantasy producer this year because he got a new coach. That can certainly happen. I don't think that from like a playing time standpoint, I expect anything really, at least out of the gate, to be different for Barrett. And I don't think the assumption out of the gate should be that anything's going to be different. It's not like he's going to a team that doesn't have high usage guys already. They have Siakam, they have Barnes. It's not like an obvious, oh, you're throwing him onto this team with a bunch of guys that don't shoot. He's going to be the guy.
Yeah. I mean, Barrett's really working his way back into what looks like probably the same situation. Pascal Siakam playing the role of Julius Randle, Scotty Barnes, obviously differently playing the role of Jalen Brunson, two guys that are going to have no problem using possessions. So to me, Barrett is stepping into sort of the same situation.
Yeah, agreed. It looks very similar to me, assuming they don't just unlock some good version of RJ Barrett.
Yeah. And it would be really interesting if this trade went down and Nurse was still there, but I am fascinated to see like how he gets used, because I'm guessing you didn't get a lot of freedom from Tom Thibodeau for like maybe the things you wanted to do.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable guess.
What do you want to do with the rest of these guys? Pirtle, Siakam, Barnes?
I'm getting the 15% Pirtle. He's actually my second highest owned guy here. Quickly, I'm coming in, by the way, closer to the optimal percentage. I have 21%. So I'm under the field, but still have a pretty good amount of Quickly. Pirtle showing up 15% for me. He played huge minutes last game. I'm not expecting that to repeat itself. That hasn't been the case this year, even with Precious Achiuwa out. He's played about 2 minutes more on average per game without Achiuwa, but you could certainly get a couple extra minutes. Reasonable price tag at 6K, 14% chance being optimal, 13% ownership. I have 15%, 10% RJ Barrett, 5% Barnes. Not really. I don't have any Siakam right now. Wouldn't be upset if he shows up a little bit. 8,400 power forward eligible, but just kind of difficult to get to at that price tag, I think.
You have your exposures?
Yeah.
Do you care to share what your awesome sauce play of the day is?
I guess Bradley Beal doesn't count. Let me see what is Turner owned. Yeah, I'm going to go Miles Turner. Third highest owned guy right now, 11% projected ownership.
There we go. The awesome sauce play of the day, Miles Turner. Anything else for Toronto?
No.
Alrighty. Easy day today in terms of schedule. The only thing that we have left is NBA Live Before Lock. That'll come up next at 6:30. They will take you all the way up until 7:30 and tip off of this Cleveland-Toronto game. Otherwise, you know the drill. We want you to use our avatar, grab our logo at stochastic.com/avatar and load it up on DraftKings or FanDuel, Owner's Box, or Yahoo. Because if you do that and you finish in the top 3 of a contest with 5,000 or more entries, you can get 1 month of whatever you want at Stochastic. If you're watching this show, I assume that would be our NBA Sims tool. That's going to be projections, ownership, our boom bust tool, the lineup generator if you want to use it, but you'll also have the Sims tool. All you have to do in this scenario is tweet your result at Stochastic HOF. We want to show off that you finished at the top of the contest, and we want people to see that our logo is there, and we want to reward you with that month. This costs you absolutely nothing to do it, totally free, but you get the benefit of potentially getting a $200 value. So stochastic.com/avatar is what you're looking for. The Detroit Pistons are 9.5-point underdogs in Houston, 227 total. Standard issue stuff here for the Pistons. Beef stew still out. On the Houston side, Dylan Brooks still out. Q tag on Jabari Smith, Q tag on Tari Eason. Those 2 Q tags will matter whenever we get that information, hopefully prior to 7:30. 15% ownership coming into Boyan, 20 to Jalen Duren, and 18 to Kevin Knox. They are the 3 guys that are getting ownership. No one else is really owned for the Pistons. How are you seeing the Pistons now after everything we saw earlier today?
Yeah, I'm getting to Knox now, which I hate, but
I'm not.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it this morning, and like I said, I would like to not be getting there, but I also completely understand why it's happening. I understood why you were getting him this morning. I understand why I'm getting him now. He's 4,200 power forward. Assuming he's starting, they won last game. I can't imagine they're changing their lineup after that. He played 30 minutes in that one. He's now started 4 games total this year. He's averaged 26 and a half minutes per game. He is live to play 20 minutes. That is out there where he just starts the game, closes the first half, starts the third quarter, and never comes back. But if he's playing well, the minutes are there for him. And that is a nice thing in DFS is, when you can expect someone to play more if they're playing well, because in the games where Kevin Knox does play like 18 minutes, chances are he was not scoring fantasy points for you anyway. So it doesn't really matter that he didn't get the extra minutes. So there's that. And he's just cheap. We don't have a ton of good cheap value on this slate. So yeah, I'm getting the 32%, 33% of him now. I am not confident in that, but again, I get why it's happening just from a pricing standpoint. Jalen Duren showing up 18% for me. I am much happier with that. 6,700, 20% ownership projected to him. So right around the field. Good point per minute guy. Minutes are there as long as he avoids foul trouble. He's just going to look good. I'm getting to more of this team in general, though, than I expected. I'm getting to 12% Boyan now. He's projected for 14% ownership. I didn't have that this morning. I do now. I'm getting to 10% Jaden Ivey at 4% ownership. Perfectly fine contrarian play to me at 6,200. He's likely to, if he's playing well, likely to give you 30 minutes or so. No real issue with that. Alec Burks is showing up 10% for me off the bench. He's getting 4% ownership, 4,400 shooting guard small forward. Very, very risky play. He is another one where he can play 18 minutes, no questions asked. But if he's playing well, he can play more. So I do think, there is a hot hand situation with this team where when you think of the closing lineup, you assume it's going to have Cunningham. You assume it's going to have Duren. You assume it's going to have Bogdanovic. I think for the most part, the other 2 spots are just who's playing well, especially when you think of somebody like Alec Burks, because he can defend multiple positions. It's very easy for him to stay on the floor if he is playing well. It doesn't have to be at the expense of Knox, although it likely would be. It could be in place of Ivy. So if he's playing well, there are ways for Burks to get more minutes. On a slate that doesn't have a lot of cheap value, I do think that's a pretty interesting contrarian play. I'm getting the 7% Cunningham, who's projected for 3% ownership. So I'm pretty much even or above the field on all of Cunningham, Duren, Bogdanovic, Ivy, Knox, and Burks right now.
Yeah, I only have 11% of Knox now, which, I'm obviously not mad about. I feel like he's guaranteed to smash at this point, which is going to be frustrating. 22% Duren, 17% Boyan. So I'm just right there with where the field's going. Scattered up like very tiny amounts of Cade, Livers, Ivy. Not that I'm excited about any of that. 3% to Ivy is the most I have of those guys. But there are the 3 pieces that the field seems to be getting to do look like the 3 best pieces for the Pistons.
Yep, I agree.
On the Houston end. Oh, you got more here?
I was curious. How much Knox and Burks overlap I was getting. It's not a rule that I want to set, but I think it's something to pay attention to where if, for example, you're playing Alec Burks, then it's always with Kevin Knox. I don't love that.
Yeah.
Like I said, they absolutely can play alongside each other. But but for me, like 6% of my Knox lineups had Burks. So that's not something I'm going to worry
about. One thing I wanted to note for Detroit that I forgot to say before, based on EPM for everybody that I projected in today, the only person with a positive EPM for the Pistons is plus 0.9 to Jalen Duren. Everybody else on the team is negative. If you go by Darko, which is more of a talent level at this moment, it updates every single day. The entire team is negative.
They are very bad.
Yes. And negative means 0 is average. So they are at best slightly below average. And that would be Cade at negative 0.6.
Stephen McGuire said, why are we talking about Knox? Did he improve? You don't have to be particularly good at basketball if you're going to play 30 minutes, or if you have the potential to play 30 minutes at 4,200. Like a 26-minute projection just makes him look good, even though he is not a good basketball player.
As we usually say, this is a game of salaries, and his is at a level that makes him very interesting when he is potentially playing 30 minutes tonight.
Yeah, and I mean,
likely playing 26.
From the, I guess, macro standpoint, the reason we're talking about him now is he went from not being in the rotation to starting, and the salary hasn't adjusted.
That too. Houston is very different depending on which site you're playing on, and obviously whether or not we get the news on Tari Eason and Jabari Smith. But 13% ownership to Alper and Şengün, 11 to Fred VanVleet. That's DraftKings. FanDuel slightly different. 27 to Şengün, 28 to Van Vliet, 25 to Tate, 30 to Jalen Green, and 16 to Tari Eason. Are you getting to Houston right now?
I am getting a very big stand on Fred Van Vliet, which I am more than happy with. I hope it holds. Field getting to 11%, like you said. I'm getting to 30. He's 8,200. He plays huge minutes. We've got a good matchup with Detroit. He's somebody that I'm just never upset if I'm going to be over the field on him, because you know the minutes are going to be there as long as nothing weird happens in the game. So very happy to get there. He's the only guy I am getting aggressively. I have 7% Jalen Green is my next highest owned guy. That's a little bit over the field, but we're talking about 7% to 5 as a $7,200 shooting guard. Şengün showing up 6%. So I'm actually like half the field on him. That probably is in part a function of the next game where I have a ton of Miles Turner, like I mentioned before. I have like 5% a piece of Tate and Eason, 1% Jabari Smith. Obviously, this team has the potential to start looking a lot better if one or both of Smith and Eason are out. If Eason is out and Smith is in, I think it may go overlooked a little bit, but Jabari Smith probably plays a ton of minutes if Eason is out. If
7K.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he's playing 36 plus if Eason is out.
We tend to see that.
Yeah, especially with no Brooks too. If Smith is out and Eason is in, we saw Jeff Green get the start last time. He is 4,300. It's not going to be an appealing play, but it's somebody that isn't all that different from Kevin Knox if he starts. I would still prefer Knox, but they're pretty similar. Tari Eason, certainly his minutes projection goes up if Jabari Smith is out. If they're both out, Jayshawn Tate starts to look very good. He is 4,600, not a great point per minute guy, but would just be playing a ton of minutes at that point. So certainly a lot that we are still waiting on from this team.
Yeah, it's going to matter. What would you go? 35 to Jabari Smith as a projection if Eason is out?
Probably, yeah.
Yeah, that'll look a lot better. Like, he looks close to good at 7K right now. Don't think that I'm going to be getting to much Eason one way or the other. So his news is really just a function of everybody else. I have 15% Van Vliet, so I'm like sort of there with you. I think I'm turning Van Vliet into Terry Rozier, evidently, which we'll get to in a bit.
Yeah. Potentially,
I don't have anything else here for Houston.
If Jabari Smith is out, are you giving any extra minutes to Şengün?
Probably not. If you get them both out, then I'd be willing to give him another one.
I kind of think he should get an extra minute or two. He played 34 last game with no Smith. Jock Landale was the backup center in the first half. Jock Landale did not play in the second half. Şengün had a little bit of foul trouble in the first half. In the second half, Şengün played a total of 20 minutes and 15 seconds.
I'd like to give him more minutes. I would happily play more here. That would be totally fine by me. I hadn't thought about it, actually. That's a good talking point. If they're both out, I'd feel way better about it, obviously.
Sure. Yeah.
If it's just one, I could go from 33 to 34 and be okay with that.
Yeah. Right now we're at 34. The industry average is about 34. So it's not like you can't get too much more aggressive than that. But if Jabari Smith's out, I really wouldn't mind being at like 35.
I think that's fair. I have nothing else here for Houston. We need that news.
Yep.
Slightly different game here. The Indiana Pacers are 8.5-point underdogs in Milwaukee. 261 total. That is happening. Doubtful tag on Bruce Brown, which I believe was out earlier, but I don't know. Either way, doubtful tag on Bruce Brown. Don't come back anytime soon, by the way. It's just easier this way. Q tag on Marshawn Beauchamp. Shouldn't really matter on the Milwaukee side. Lots of ownership, though. Call it 15 to Isaiah Jackson, which you can have it. 15 to Jalen Smith. Around 15 to Miles Turner. 8 to Halliburton. 20 to Nesmith. 23 to Nembhard. You can once again have that one. And then 30 to Benedict Mathurin. I have very different exposures here than I did earlier for some of these guys, but the one thing that I can confidently say, I still don't have Andrew Nembhard, and I do not want Isaiah Jackson.
Yeah, I'm getting the 12% Jackson right now. I don't really love that one. I wouldn't mind if that just goes away. I understand why it's happening. He's 3,600. If something happens with Miles Turner, Isaiah Jackson plays more minutes and he'll look good. We haven't projected for 14 minutes. Industry average is around 12 to 13. He is risky, though, because he didn't even play in the second half last game. He played 9 minutes total in that game, did not see the floor in the second half. The upside is there. I think this is just a spot where 3,600 is probably a little bit too cheap.
Yeah.
But also, What's the difference between him and Tristan Thompson?
I
Other
was
than
just
the
going to
game?
say the same thing. Like,
Yeah.
it's not, there's no need to get cute if one of them's getting ownership and the other isn't.
Right. Like the game is way more appealing. But other than
Yeah.
that, which, that's not nothing. But other than that, they're kind of the same play. But like I'm getting the 12% Jackson right now. I can take it or leave it. I don't think, like, I think you should be expecting somewhere in that 12 to 14 minute range, but it doesn't have to be there. I think it's a reasonable projection still, though, because it's likely he plays something like that. But also, you do have whatever percentage of the time Miles Turner gets in foul trouble and Jackson just plays more. So um, it's, like I said, I can take it or leave it. Turner's the guy I'm getting to the most here. I have 31% of him. I probably do want to set a rule to not have them together. Right now I have a couple lineups where Turner and Jackson are together, but the Isaiah Jackson ceiling game from a minute standpoint obviously involves Miles Turner not playing as many minutes as I would like.
Yeah.
That's not to say Isaiah Jackson can't just smash in 12 minutes, but the playing time comes from Turner being in foul trouble. So probably don't want them together, but I am getting to a lot of Turner. I'm very happy with that. We know he's a good point per minute guy. We know if he avoids foul trouble, he can play enough minutes to look good at this salary. The game environment is great. I love being able to just get to a relatively low owned good player in this game. So no problems with 31% Turner being 3x the field there. I have 25% Neesmith right now. Fields at 20%, 5,100 small forward, power forward. You talked this morning about how well he's been shooting this season. The minutes are there. It's easy for him to stay on the floor since he's one of their only good individual defenders. So he's not an exciting point per minute fantasy guy, but he's just cheap. Price hasn't really moved quite enough for him in his new role as a starter. Benedict Mathurin showing up 17% for me. He is a volatile piece off the bench, but he's just so cheap with shooting guard small forward eligibility that he looks pretty good. That said, I am about half the field. We have him getting 28% ownership on DraftKings right now, only a 16% chance of being optimal. So this is one where I'm very much in line with the optimal percentage, not the ownership. Perfectly fine with me. He's a good play, but does look like he's pulling a bit more ownership than he should. And it's not like he's locked in the 26 minutes. He can play 26 minutes. He also can play 18. So there is volatility not only in his play, in his performance, but in how many minutes he's going to play. Jalen Smith showing up 11% for me, $5,200 power forward, 17% ownership, 12% chance of being optimal. Again, much more in line with the optimal percentage. Getting to 8% Halliburton, which is pretty much in line with the field. I had a bunch of Buddy Hield this morning. I'm down to 3% now. Fields at 2%. He didn't play a lot of minutes last game, only played about 18. The two previous games where he came off the bench, he did play 32, 33 minutes. That is there. I don't mind him as a contrarian play, just hoping that happens. Like if he's shooting well, he's the same price, same positions as RJ Barrett. If he's shooting well, he can easily play the same minutes as RJ Barrett. If we assume that Barrett's playing like 30, low 30s, Hield can get there. So I'm not getting a lot right now, but kind of interesting at basically no ownership. Nemhard's the one. I'm with you. 23% ownership, 17% chance of being optimal, 5,300 point guard, shooting guard. He is a good value in the sense that he's starting. He's likely to play 30 plus minutes. He doesn't have to. He played 24 2 games ago, but he's likely to play 30 plus minutes. I just think he's going a little bit over projected still by the field because it just seems like people aren't accounting for how many minutes he's playing with Tyrese Halliburton. Now we have seen he's now started 4 games with Halliburton active. He is up to 0.75 DraftKings points per minute. He had been at 0.67, but there's no doubt that his rates take a hit when he's with Halliburton. They have been staggering their minutes. So you are talking, 9, 10, 11 minutes for Nemhard without Halliburton, depending how many minutes Halliburton plays. Good game environment, all of that. I don't want it to come across like Nemhard is just a flat out bad play. And I don't know why people aren't getting there. I do think he's just being projected a little bit better than I think he should be. And as a result, I'm not really getting it.
Did you mention Jalen Smith's ownership for yourself?
11.
I still have 34. I gave him 22 minutes. I'm doing everything I can to get away from it, and it just does not stop happening.
I have 23 minutes.
Okay. Yeah, like I'm ready to go to 21 just to like chill out and make it easier. But also, if something does happen to, I have 11% Turner. If something happens to Turner, that is also going to be a benefit to Jalen Smith in some way. I think maybe could be. I don't know. It's not gonna hurt him. That I'd feel pretty confident in saying. I have 25% Mathurin, which I'm not like stoked about, but I understand why it's happening. I do have the Neesmith stand. I don't have Nemhard. I don't have the Jackson piece. I only have 3% Halliburton, which just feels like I feel like we look back at this one and it's like, oh, Halliburton had 20 and 20 again in a 260 point total. Maybe we should just have him, but
Yep.
I don't know. It's just not happening for me.
Yeah. Like I said, I have
and I hate it.
I'm even with the field on him, but obviously would be very happy to get more.
Ultimately, most of Indiana looks pretty good. Like the only guy that plays real minutes, like Hield's price is probably a little too high for the ambiguity in his role, but like the only guy that plays minutes and isn't getting any ownership is Obi Toppin, and I don't really see a path to Obi Toppin today.
Agreed.
We can
How
keep it
many minutes
moving
did you
here.
project Hield for?
27.
Okay. We're at 26 and a half. Industry in general is at 26. I wouldn't hate
And I'm not
like
getting him at
28.
27. And like to go any higher than that would be me just trying to get Buddy Hield because I want Buddy Hield.
Yeah, I don't hate 28 minutes.
I don't, neither do I. But if I do that, that's still only going to be 8 to 10% Buddy Hield at this point, which
Yeah, but
I don't
being
mind.
2% owned, I like that.
Yeah, so do I. So do I.
Like, should Buddy Hield be 1/5 the ownership of RJ Barrett?
Probably not. No, no, he shouldn't. That's a good point. I like that. On the Milwaukee side, 25% ownership to Brook Lopez, 25% ownership to Giannis, 25% ownership to Chris Middleton, around 15 to Bobby Portis, 10 to Damian Lillard, Malik Beasley, and Pat Connaughton. Who are your favorite pieces from the Bucks?
I like the Giannis guy. I think he's good.
I have 10%.
I have 21.
I'd rather have 21.
Yeah. Fields at 24%. So I'm pretty much there with Giannis. He's just, I mean, obviously he's great. But another thing that outside of just him being great and this game being really, really appealing, another thing to like about Giannis is just that, yes, you have other stars on this slate, but he is less expensive considerably than Luka. He's less expensive than Jokic. And you also have guys returning for both of those teams. So for the season now, Giannis in games that Lillard and Middleton have played, Giannis is about 1.6 DraftKings points per minute. When Luka has played with Kyrie, he's about 1.68. Jokic with Gordon and Murray and Porter is about 1.67. You're not seeing a big gap between Giannis and those guys in terms of their average production when everybody's healthy. And Giannis clearly has the best game. He's got the best positional eligibility because he's not a point guard or center. So yeah, like he looks great. Obviously we know what he did against Indiana last time, 64 points. There's no love lost between these teams. I'm sure he would love to go do it again. Yeah, I mean, he looks great. He's my second highest owned guy from Milwaukee. Middleton's my highest at 23%. Field's getting to 23%. I actually have the exact same amount as the Field. 7,100, shooting guard, small forward, playing real minutes now. Just a good play. Brook Lopez getting 24% ownership. I'm getting 19. 5,700, averaging about 32, 33 minutes per game over pretty much any sample of games that you want to look at. Gives you block upside, which is always nice because it does increase volatility. It's just something that, you know, it's not predictable game to game, but he has it and can obviously just carry him to a massive game. So the price tag there looks good. Beasley showing up 17%, Fields at 12. No confidence in that guy, but he is 4,800 in a great game. So I'll gladly get to a little bit of him. Portis is showing up 10%. Connaughton showing up 10%. Dame is showing up 6%. I am pretty much just around the field on all 7 of the main playable pieces from the Bucks.
So I've got 35 of Lopez, 35 of Middleton. I don't have anything that I want to change there in this matchup. That looks great. I'm under on Giannis, as I mentioned. I have 10%. He's projected for 24, but I have 22% of Dame and he's projected for 8. I'm okay with swapping those guys to a degree. Clearly different plays, but like I don't mind being over on Dame now in lieu of Giannis. That's if it's going to happen like that, then I'm down with that. Neutral to Beasley, way under on Pat Connaughton right now, and relatively neutral to Bobby Portis. It's just a game that I want to have a lot of. I don't really care who it is or where it comes in from.
Agreed.
Bruce with the super chat. Did Giannis ever get his game ball last game?
Depends who you ask.
Yeah. I think they confirmed that he got the right one.
Okay, because he said last I had heard, he said he did not believe that he got the right one.
All of the balls, from what I remember reading, all of the balls are numbered and ID'd, and they were able to confirm that like whatever one ended up back to the Pacers guy was not that.
Okay. Yeah, because the last I'd seen about it was Giannis.
I think.
The last, like, it was, I think, day of or day after. Giannis said it didn't feel like the right ball.
Chat will certainly correct me. I doubt they have any problem letting me know I'm wrong. But I think I'm right. Anything else for the Bucks? This is obviously an incredible game.
Yeah, great game. Whatever you get to here is great. The only real consideration in this game is just making sure that your lineups have some contrarian pieces because this game is obviously going to be popular.
Adam mentioned it earlier that he's feeling better. Now you guys can feel better by signing up at Better. They are the sponsor of this video. Click the link in the description and sign up. If you're looking to get into a pick'em site, this is probably the best place to start because they will double your first deposit up to $500. That is the perfect situation to try and build up a bankroll on these pick'em sites, whether you're playing on NFL, NBA, hockey, or whatever other sites that they're going to be offering to you. You can make those picks. You could also 100x your entry if you correctly select 8 picks. That's a big, big number, 100x. That's what you're searching for if you want to go deep into it. Probably the best value too, if I had to guess, but I have not looked into that. Ultimately, the best value for you is signing up for Better and getting that deposit bonus. But you got to be 21 or over. And if you or someone you know has a gambling problem, please call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. Next one up, Charlotte Hornets, 16-point underdogs in Denver, 226 total. This one's going to hurt me. Gordon Hayward out. Mark Williams still doubtful. And Terry Rozier now questionable with an illness. There is no ownership coming into Charlotte. But I think we need to have this conversation. One, I think that low ownership is just like making me get to Terry Rozier. I have no idea why. He looks fine, but he shouldn't be a guy that I'm just jamming uncontrollably here. Do you like, let's start this way. With everything in right now, are you interested in anything from Charlotte?
Not particularly. My highest owned guys are like 3%. If the slate started right now, I would have at least one lineup with 6 different guys from Charlotte, including somehow Nick Smith Jr. That can be ignored, but nobody above. I'd have 3% Bridges, 3% Richards. Those would be my highest owned guys here. To your Rozier stand, I think like fine. He's playing big minutes. He's obviously got a nice ceiling at low ownership, but I'm not getting to it. Richards is the only guy actually pulling ownership. He's getting 10%, 5,700. I'm not even getting there. I only have 3%. I think he looks okay. It's just for me, I am clearly allocating a lot of center exposure to Miles Turner. I am getting, 20% Brook Lopez at the same salary. So I think he's a little bit more popular than I think he should be. And as a result, I'm just not getting there because I am getting to these other centers.
What do we do with the Charlotte Hornets if Terry Rozier is not playing? That feels like a gigantic trickle down.
Yeah, I mean, Ish Smith is 4,100 on a slate where we don't have a lot of value. That's going to look better. Cody Martin at 4,600 is always nice in a situation like that because he can just play multiple positions and fill in pretty much any lineup that they're playing.
Nick Smith, 3,700.
Yeah, I'll say I have a Nick Smith lineup right now, even with Rozier in somehow. He's going to look better if Rozier is out for sure. So, I mean, I think either of the Smiths and Cody Martin are like the value pieces that start to look better. But then also you expect just more production from Bridges, more production from Miller.
25.5 minutes for Nick Smith on December 23rd. Terry Rozier did not play that game. We only got 11 minutes out of Brandon Miller. He got hurt there too. So it's hard to say what that impact would have been. And I'm not looking at Popcorn Machine right now to like break that down, but he did get 25 minutes there.
Who'd they play?
No idea.
Thank you.
Do you want to know?
No, I was asking because I didn't want to know.
I mean, well, like you can get to that answer just as fast as I can.
Yeah, I know.
Type it in.
I'm going to have it in a second. They played Denver.
It's fitting. They also scored 9 points in the third quarter.
Ish Smith got the start. He played 26.5 minutes. Nick Smith Jr., like you said, played 25 off the bench. Nick Smith Jr. was in the closing lineup. It was a competitive game. The closing lineup was Gordon Hayward, Nick Richards, Miles Bridges, PJ Washington, and Nick Smith. Again, that's a game where Brandon Miller was not in. I assume the closing lineup normally would have been Miller, but
yeah. So yeah, that part we're certainly going to be way more interested in it. Like, given the way that we have value right now, Ish Smith and Nick Smith are both going to look good enough to start getting into lineups for sure if Rozier is out. What does that open up for the rest of these guys? Where does the Terry Rozier usage go? Is that Brandon Miller? Is that Miles Bridges? Is that just Ish Smith and Nick Smith? Is that PJ Washington?
I think it's Bridges and Miller primarily.
Okay. Would you expect to get any volume to those guys? I'm not really sure that that's really good. Bridges, maybe. Miller, probably a little bit less so.
Yeah, that's how I see it. Like, I think the value pieces are where you would really start looking because that's what we need on this slate is just more
Yeah.
of that. We don't really need more 8K Miles Bridges type guys. Clearly, he's going to look better if Rozier is out, and so is Miller. But you're not really struggling for guys in that price range. You're struggling for the value pieces. So I think that's where you would really end up prioritizing. So far this year, without LaMelo or Rozier on the floor, 183 minutes for Brandon Miller. He has a 27.7% usage rate. Miles Bridges, 129 minutes, 24% usage rate. PJ Washington also a 24% usage rate in 164 minutes.
I can't imagine in Denver is the place you want to roll in like shorthanded when you don't play a lot. And then now you got to play like increased minutes at elevation against a top 10 offense, top 10 defense, bottom 3 pace defending champion team. Like this feels like a situation where Denver wins the game 100-69.
Yeah, I agree. If you take Gordon Hayward off the floor along with LaMelo and Rozier, sample size clearly gets smaller, but 84 minutes for Brandon Miller, still 27.5% usage rate. Miles Bridges, 59 minutes, 120 possessions, 28.8% usage rate.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to look better, but it is going to become terrifying to want to get to Charlotte. Other than the Ish piece, the Nick Smith piece won't be as terrifying because there's just not enough salary there for you to be like awful. Getting to Brandon Miller is going to be like shit, they're going to be awful.
Yeah, the Nick Smith piece in particular, because even if they get destroyed, they probably just leave him out there to get NBA minutes.
Yeah,
whereas
that's a good point.
Smith, I think, has earned his spot on the bench if they're down by 30.
You would think. So interesting spot that we're waiting on here for Charlotte. The Denver side is, I don't know, is equally unappealing, sort of, just because this matchup isn't unappealing. 12% ownership to Aaron Gordon, who is still questionable, but it seems like he's playing today. 8% ownership to Jamal Murray, 9% to Nikola Jokic. I'm doubling up Murray. I'm neutral-ish to Gordon. I actually have a little bit of MPJ, which is whatever for today at 3%. Only 3% Jokic, so I don't have what I had before. I'm guessing you have him now.
No, I don't have much of this team, and I don't love that. Aaron Gordon, Christian Brown, Jamal Murray, all showing up 5% for me. Those are my highest owned guys here. So right around the field on Murray, like half the field on Gordon, right around the field on Christian Brown, who again is just shooting guard, small forward, 4K. If any value opens up, he just goes away. But right now he's just random filler in some lineups. 1% Jokic, 1% Porter. I would love to get more. It's a good matchup in terms of Charlotte being bad defensively. They're not a particularly fast team, so that works against them. But I think it's just I'm having trouble getting to Jokic for sort of the same reasons I was saying I'm not getting to Richards. Obviously, I would rather get to Jokic than Richards, but Giannis looks like the priority when you're paying up. And center, even for, it's a 6-game slate, but center is pretty loaded. I think Miles Turner's been one of my favorite contrarian plays both this morning and right now. So I assume I'm going to keep getting there by lock. Brook Lopez looks like a good value at center. Duran looks good. Şengün's good. Allen, if you can find the salary, is good. Pirtle's fine. You just have such a loaded, we haven't gotten to Derek Lively yet, but you just have such a loaded like $5,000 to $8,000 range at center on a slate where you don't have a lot of cheap guys that you want to pay for. It's just easier to make lineups by using those guys.
It just feels like a game where Jokic is going to have like an incredibly casual triple-double in like 23 minutes. And it's just like, oh, the Jokic went for 22, 12, and 12, but you don't want him in DFS and Denver won running away with it.
Beauchamp is out, which I don't think matters.
No, that just turns into Andre Jackson, AJ Green, insert names of guys further down but not Thanasis, who is out for personal reasons.
Yeah, if anything, it makes me slightly more
Thanasis available for personal reasons now.
Oh, nice. If anything, it just makes me a little bit more confident that Pat Connaughton plays normal Pat Connaughton minutes.
Yeah. I wouldn't mind giving him like an extra minute now. I wasn't getting him before, but now I feel a little bit safer. Anything else for Denver?
No.
Portland Trailblazers. No DeAndre Ayton, no Anthony Simons, no Robert Williams. Q-tag on Shaden Sharp, Q-tag on Tumani Kamara, and a doubtful tag on Dwop Reith. 25% ownership coming into Jabari Walker, 16 to Jeremy Grant, 10 to Malcolm Brogdon, single digits across the board for everyone else. Brogdon is 20% owned on FanDuel, where he's $8K. That's $200 more expensive, but that's interesting. You got to roster somebody at both positions, though, so sometimes those things kind of look a little weird. Who is starting at center for the Portland Trailblazers today? Scoot Henderson at this point?
Yeah, my guess is Walker, just based on their second half lineup last game out and the fact that they've clearly preferred giving him the minutes anyway. It kind of just seemed like, are they willing to start him? And they did in the second half. So I don't know. Maybe it's still a Moses Brown spot start, but one way or the other, I think you're getting upper 20s, at least in minutes for Jabari Walker. Yeah. So he's showing up 30% for me. Power forward eligible is nice. Right around the field on him. That's my guess.
I have 43% of Walker right now. That's less than the 100% I had a couple nights ago on that night slate, but I'm fine with it. It seems like that's the guy that they want to play the majority of the minutes. We've seen so many opportunities now for Moses Brown to just not do dick when he goes out there or just foul everybody. Ibu Baji, sure. I don't know. Like they could, I guess.
And to be clear, even if Moses Brown starts, I am playing Jabari Walker.
It
doesn't.
Oh yeah, I don't really assume that Walker starts. Like, that's not really changing anything for me here. I'd love to see him start. I'd feel more confident in it. And with that news coming in later, I don't think that it would really change anything too crazily.
Yeah. That's how I view it too, is when that lineup comes out, if his name is in it, I'm going to be like, cool, I feel better about having 30% of a 5K starting center than I do a 5K dude off the bench. But I also don't really care.
I would not be surprised if they play the 12-minute Moses Brown stint and call it a day too. The rest of these guards, though, not getting any love whatsoever, because I assume we're treating Shaedon Sharpe like he is going to be in $6,600 shooting guard small forward. Do you want to get to anybody else really from Portland, at least on the guard side, if Sharpe is in?
With Sharpe projected in right now, I don't have 66% Scoot anymore, which is nice. His ownership is down to 3%. We have him down to a 90% chance of being optimal. So that's very different than what we were seeing this morning. I'm not getting much of him. Brogdon showing up 11% for me is my highest owned guard right now from Portland. Field is also at 11%. I'm getting the 17% Jeremy Grant. Field's at 14%. 7,300 power forward just looks perfectly fine. Other than that, single digits for everybody. A little bit of Thibault, a little bit of Kamara, a little bit of Sharpe, a little bit of Henderson. But Walker, Grant, Brogdon are the three that I'm getting double-digit exposure to.
I have 10% of Grant. I don't have Brogdon. That will change pretty dramatically, I think. If we don't get Sharpe, what does that make Scoot?
Better.
Agreed.
Probably like 32 minutes.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Right now, he's projected for about 28. So, goes from probably projecting for around 26 DraftKings points to around 30.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. What if we lose Kamara? Should we be getting to like a bunch of Matisse Thybulle at 4,300 shooting guard small forward?
I don't know that you should ever be getting to a bunch of Matisse Thybulle at any price or position. But yeah, he'll clearly look better. And the thing is, he's already showing up some. Like I said, I have 9% of him. The field right now is projected for 3. So I am kind of using him as a contrarian play, just hoping to get lucky with blocks and steals. But if Kamara's out, those minutes open up. They don't have to go to him. Like, you could just get more Skylar Mays. You could get random rotations. But like, especially if Sharpe and Kamara are out, then it starts to be like, okay, well, they need Thibault to play actual minutes. And he is cheap,
like, even if you give him 2 more minutes, he's already showing up now. 2 minutes is a lot for him at that position and price.
Yep, agreed. So there's nothing that can happen to make you confident in Matisse Thybulle, but there are things that could happen to where you should be playing Matisse Thybulle and just not watching him not score points.
Tari Eason will play. Jabari Smith remains questionable. Anybody else? Just to be clear for everybody, if Moses Brown is the starter for the Portland Trailblazers, we are not playing out the Moses Brown experience tonight.
I am not, no.
Okay.
It's going to happen eventually, but I will not have him when that happens.
Tari Eason will remain limited to 25 to 27 minutes for the foreseeable future, per Ime Udoka.
I'm glad you said 25 to 27, because I thought you were going to say he's going to remain limited to 25 minutes, and I was going to point out that he has been playing more than 25 minutes like every game.
Yeah. I don't really... Okay, so like using that information, if Jabari Smith is out, is the biggest benefit Jeff Green?
I think so. It makes me... You can never be confident in Jeff Green's actual production, but it makes me more confident that his minutes will still be there, because the biggest question mark when you look at Houston's rotation last game was what, like, is there a 34-minute Tari Eason game in there where he takes minutes from Jeff Green? If the answer to that is no, Jeff Green's minutes are kind of just there. Also, back to Şengün, I think Şengün's playing a lot.
Agreed. 2,100 people in here. We're a little over 200 likes. It's New Year's Day, folks. Hit us with a thumbs up. It doesn't cost you anything. Why not run that up? Let's start the new year off with good vibes. Hit that thumbs up. It helps us out a ton. Let's go to the Phoenix side of this one, where things have changed since you and I talked about it earlier today. We have a Q tag on Eric Gordon. Nas Little is available, but Kevin Durant is out. And we already had Chalk Bradley Beal before this. I don't really think it changes too much for Beal at this point. He's 63% owned. That makes sense. He's probably the best play on the slate right now. 22% ownership to Nurk, 11 to Nas Little. That should be a conversation for us. I assume you have him. That's your boy. 5% to Devin Booker at 9,800. Let's just get the Beal conversation out of the way. He looked amazing this morning. He looks amazing again.
He's my highest owned guy on the slate. It's not even close. If the slate started right now, I'd have 74%. My next highest owned guys are 33 and 31. So just the one guy that I am just aggressively jamming into lineups right now. And I get what you were saying about Durant being out probably doesn't have a big impact on Beal, just in the sense he was a really good play anyway. But it does clearly have an impact in that he's not playing with Kevin Durant. And
for sure.
It's now a 2-man or 2.5-man offense instead of a 3.5-man offense. So like it clearly makes him look better, but he looked really, really good anyway. But yeah, definitely happier to have Beal without Durant than with Durant.
Absolutely. Totally agree. Yeah, I was sort of just saying it from we were already going to be getting 60% of Bradley Beal anyway situation. So that's not really changing. Let's talk Nurk next, since he's the next highest owned guy, 22% owned, 7,400. I have 15. I'm happy to get to whatever I get of Nurk. It just feels like more and more for these slates, it's really easy to just move around at the center position.
Yeah, but Nurk is one that I'm actually over the field. I'm getting 29% of him. He's another one that just is going to look better with no Kevin Durant. He was obviously the half guy that I was referring to in the offense a minute ago, where, he's still likely to take a backseat to Beal. He's absolutely taking a backseat to Booker, but he's a good fantasy producer. It's a good spot. I mean, we saw what Wemby did to this Portland front court. Not to say Nurk is Wemby, but like he should just be grabbing every board and doing whatever he wants when he has the ball. So he's going to look very, very, very good. I am happy to get to him at 17% owned. The price tag is reasonable. He's another reason I think why I'm just having trouble getting to Jokic is I can play Nurkic for 4K less. So I am getting a lot of him. I am getting to 19% Nas Little. He's projected for 16% ownership.
Same.
It's I don't have confidence in this rotation or what he plays, but I only have him in for like 16 or 17 minutes and I'm getting to him. So it kind of just, it's not like I'm looking at his projection saying, oh, this is aggressive. This could go really poorly. We have him projected for 13 DraftKings points. He's just really cheap and at a weak position where he just opens some stuff up. I'm getting the 12% in Metu as well. He's 4,900. He's not getting any ownership, which I think is interesting.
Yeah, I went 21 minutes. I only got to 2%. I did get to that same 19 on Nas Little. Just a little too expensive for Metu, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, we have him at 19 minutes. I think he looks okay. But like, I think it's the lack of ownership is why I'm getting there. I don't have any real confidence in his minutes. I think he probably plays around 20. But if he's playing well, or something happens with Nurkic, he could clearly walk into more. I think it's just that he's projected for nothing. And there is at least a path to him being good.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to look and see what's around him right now. The problem is he's sort of just a pivot. Like you're getting that ownership to Aaron Nesmith at 5,100. He's going to look better by default. Jabari Walker is getting that 25% ownership. He's going to look better by default. Quickly is getting 32% ownership in that price range. Different position, obviously. And then as you work your way down, like you've got the cheaper version of him and Kevin Knox at 4,200 getting some ownership. So I don't mind like hot swapping him out for one of those guys that I just named that are pulling a bunch of ownership, but it makes sense why he's not getting there.
Yeah, I agree. I just think like, I guess something that I do sort of dislike here is if he were projected for 5 or 6% ownership, I don't think I'm getting him. And there is a real chance that he is 4 or 5% owned, not 1 or 2% owned. So I don't love that part of it. But yeah, like when you look at players around him that are getting ownership, like you said, you have Smith, who's getting 17% at 5,200. You have a Coro's not really getting any. Neesmith's getting 20. I'm getting him. Walker, I'm getting to. But yeah, I think it's mostly just we don't have a lot of good value. And if he's not going to get any ownership, there's at least a path. All of this said, like I wouldn't be surprised if I just don't really have Metu by lock, but he is showing up for me right now. So I think it's at least interesting to look at.
I'm a little surprised that Devin Booker's only 5% owned.
Yeah, I'll say I have 7, so I guess I can't be that surprised. But
I have 11.
I like it.
I'd like to have more.
Yeah. 34.4% usage rate without Durant on the floor this year. Obviously, Beal was out for a lot of that as well. 39.2% assist percentage without Durant. Overall, 1.43 DraftKings points per minute.
Yeah, I would not mind if I ended up with a little bit more Booker. I think if we free up any sort of value, I think we start getting to that Booker range or like that Donovan Mitchell range before we get to like the Jokic range.
Yeah, so I was going to say I probably would have more Booker, except I do have 21% Mitchell.
Okay. That makes sense then. Anything else you want to touch on here for Phoenix? No. What do you think the Eric Gordon news does?
Makes
Josh Okogie?
Yeah, I was going
to feel better about Nas Little.
Makes Okogie look better, makes Little seem safer, maybe makes Metu look better. Different positions, obviously, but you just have so many interchangeable wing pieces.
Indifference for Beal, Booker, Allen.
Yeah, I don't think it matters for those guys really. Like Allen's going to play a lot of minutes anyway, and be in his same role.
We will close this one out. Dallas and Utah. Mavs are 4.5-point favorites in Utah. These guys went through shoot around today, but as of right now, Q tag on Curry, Doncic, Exum, and Irving. 9% lively is the high mark for anybody on Dallas. I don't really have much of Dallas. The game is great, but if everybody is in, it really mutes Luka and Kyrie.
Yeah, that's how I see it too. Kyrie 8,100 on FanDuel is a little bit more interesting than 8,600 on DraftKings, but Lively's my highest owned guy here at 9%. I was getting a lot more of him earlier, but I've obviously talked about several centers that I am getting a lot of, and I have no issue with the ones I'm getting to. I think, expecting around 30 minutes or so from Lively makes sense. He is cheap. He's not very popular. He's a very logical pivot to somebody like Brook Lopez, if you wanted to go that route. Like I said, I'm playing Lopez around 20%, so I'm getting there. But within an individual lineup, Lively makes sense as a pivot. I'm getting to 7% Luka, but it's just tough to get to this price tag on a slate that does have limited value, does have other good guard options. Assuming Kyrie is back, Luka is still very good, but you're talking about him losing around the 10th of a fantasy point per minute in average production, but also losing about 5 minutes per game five minutes on average per game when Kyrie is in. That's a really big deal. So it's not to say Luka can't just go have a massive game. It's a good spot, all of that, but he is expensive. He's priced for Kyrie to be out. It makes it difficult to prioritize him, especially when you have Giannis in a game with 1,000,000-point total.
The final team that we could look at is the Utah Jazz. 10% ownership to Sexton, 12 to Clarkson, 13 to Markkanen. Scattered ownership to all of these guys. None of those guys that I named are the guy that I have the most of. Someone we talked about earlier and thought, maybe, just maybe, this is the guy you should get to.
Is it Collins?
I have 26% Fontecchio.
Oh, okay. So I'm getting a lot of players from Utah. I have 8 guys in at least 2% of lineups right now. My highest owned are Collins and Markkanen at 11%. So I'm not aggressively getting to any individual player, but in the aggregate, I think this is a very, very interesting team because it's a solid matchup against Dallas. Dallas doesn't play defense. You have like a 121 implied total for Utah. The issue with Utah is that their rotations are inconsistent. They have a ton of bodies that cut into each other's playing time. So there's nobody on this team that you can even really project for 30 minutes outside of Lauri Markkanen. So all of that is the problem. It's very difficult to land on the right piece, but salaries have come down. Markkanen's down to 8K. Collins is down to 5,500. Sexton's at 6,300. These guys were all more expensive than this not long ago. So there's a very good chance that 1 or 2 guys from this team do well for their salaries.
Yeah.
Guessing which one that is, pick names out of a hat. But somebody from this team most likely is doing well. And so I'm kind of just spreading it around. 11% of the 2 I mentioned, also about 11% of Fontecchio, 10% of Sexton, 9% of Clarkson, 6% of George, 3% Kessler, 2% Dunn. Collins, Markkanen, and Fontecchio, like I said, the ones I'm getting to the most. Sexton, I like at 6,300, but it's just really difficult to take a stand on any individual guy here. As a team, though, they are cheap and in a good spot.
Fontecchio, Markkanen, and Sexton are the guys that I have in double digits. 18 for Markkanen, 16 for Sexton. It's a fun slate, man. I'm excited to play this one. But we're at the end of the rope here. NBA Live Before Lock coming up next. Do you have anything else to add?
No.
That'll do it, everybody. Back tomorrow for Adam and I. NBA Live Before Lock on this stream coming up next. Don't go anywhere. We'll talk to you later. Good luck, everybody.
Man, Christmas might be over, but Santa definitely came around to the Stochastic family this week. It's Stochastic Hall of Fame, baby. And all you got to do to get involved, get that sweet free month of any Stochastic package you want, $200 value, is download the Stochastic profile picture. It's stochastic.com/avatar. Finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more. Doesn't matter what the entry is. And tweet your wins to us at Stochastic HOF. And you're in, baby. Just like everyone, we're about to talk about some huge winners coming out of the holidays. And we kick it off with the first one on the list, Freddie P. Beautiful night for us on Sunday. Love everything about you guys. Much respect. Hey, thanks, Freddie. $15,000 up top for Freddie. And then Danielson, Merry Christmas. See what I mean? Santa came around. Got third out of 185,000 in the FanDuel quarter GPP. A couple days after trying out your Sims Max tool for the week with the holiday promo. First time using any sim, and he takes down third place for $500. Good stuff, man. And then our own Tom Kennedy, CEO, Stochastic, putting his money where his mouth is. Closest brush with a milli, rarely dabble in high stakes, but a couple things changed. Talks about the Sims tool, which won him $150,000. And then a couple days before that, Sims tool, using default settings, factory settings, chopped first place for almost $24,000. So shout out to Tom, putting up big numbers over the last week. And Sean Geezy, would this be a Hall of Fame segment without Sean? Took down the $4.20 max on DK, and then he follows it up with second and third in the $2 mini max. The guy's on a really insane heater. Rocking the tools over with us at Stochastic. Shout out to Sean, as always, in the Hall of Fame. Kevin Cutler, after splitting first Thursday, I'll take another split tonight on the 40K Showdown. Hope to keep things rolling. It's all clicking right now. Yeah, man, almost $900 for Kevin. And Mo Terps with the $200 win, right? Said not all huge wins or fields, but the tools work. Trust them. Then Mo Terps slaying on Owner's Box. There's like 5 screenshots here from Mo just destroying the game over at Owner's Box. Alexis Sierra, shout out to Emax, ship my money and player Q DFS on the Saturday slate. Second win of the year. Team Stochastic, thanks for the great shows every day. That's a $1,000 win. And Justin Tope, been on a heater himself, $750 win here. Projections are on point as they've been all season. Yeah, Justin had another one too in there. Just been on an absolute 10-day heater. And Matisse, I should have took down the 100K Sunday NFL rush. 2 incompletions from Dortz, just needed 1 catch. Anyway, hope this inducts me into the Hall of Fame. Yes, it does, sir. $5,000, third place. Congrats, brother. And then X Knight 360 finally took down an NBA Showdown this season using the NBA Sims tool. It works. What an absolutely amazing game between the Warriors and Celtics. Thanks to the team for your insights, tools, and support. How about Elon Musk's barber? Wow, that's interesting. Thanks to the incredible squad. It's Stochastic. Nailed my first place takedown last night. Shout out to Elon Musk's barber for that one. And Malachor back in the Hall of Fame streets. $375 win there. Thanking the boys. With Michael Campbell up next, patting himself on the back. Second in the $4 mini max, 20 max. Good call by me to global swap from Horford to Kuminga because they didn't want first or an extra 5K to lose in the next few months. Oh, I get it. That's not a pat on the back. That is self-deprecating humor there. Sorry, Michael, but congratulations. Aaron Brown, $3,000 in the 4-point play. Eric Traub crushed. Thanks for the live shows and advice. This is yesterday on Thursday Night Football. I know it doesn't count for the free months, has too many ties, and my profile picture is an EMAC 2024. Important to put that at the top for the 2024 push. But yeah, chopping the showdown for almost $12,000 and winning almost everything else. Huge night for Eric. Derek Porter, my biggest win in 10 years in the NBA 7K tiers and won. Well, that's good stuff. Mark with a $100 win in the end won. And then Craig with a $500 win back in the Hall of Fame streets in the NFL triple option. Tom Cross took third in the single entry 30K pylon for $1,000. Not only that, but Yvonne Ortega took $100 home in another NBA contest. They just keep coming. Alex took down the 50-cent piggy bank on FanDuel thanks to the tools and live before lock for $350. And then Bill with a $75 win, 5K plus people, free month of Sims to ring in the new year. Damn right, man. And Dingleberry Rock tagging Barack Obama in this tweet as well, as Jordan pointed out to me. $500 win in the Celebration Series free contest. That's amazing, getting second place in that with 35,000 people. So, hey, if you're still here, because I'm out of breath, download the Stochastic profile picture, stochastic.com/avatar. Tweet your wins at StochasticHOF when you finish top 3 in a field of 5,000 or more and get a free month. Any Stochastic package of your choice up to $200. We'll see you back here next week.
that you could play like online and play locally. So they have the Pokemon card game is on it, and we played so much of the Pokemon card game against each other while I was just high as balls. I could not have had
That's always good. I was playing Super Mario 3 with my nieces and nephews. It was a lot of fun.
What is happening, everybody? It's New Year, so happy New Year's to everybody. And as a little gift from you to us, just like the video and subscribe to the YouTube channel, because that's the best way to start 2024. It's by liking, subscribing, all that good stuff. But hope you guys had a great New Year's. I know I did. I was hanging out with one of my brothers. He came and stayed at my house for the weekend. We had fun. And what's great to me, Eric, about having brothers, I don't know what your relationship is like with your siblings, but it's like a time capsule for me, where whenever we all hang out together, and this was just me with one of my brothers, like we instantly become like we're 12 years old again, and just all the same interests, hobbies, and nothing else really matters. So it was great. I played the Pokemon card game on the Switch with my brother, played a bunch of matches against each other, and couldn't have had more fun. It was a terrific weekend. And now it's time to get back to the real serious business, which is, of course, fantasy basketball. So, Eric, how are you doing today? How was New Year's? And then, of course, guys, after the show ends, when we get to lock at 7:30, I'm going to be hanging out in Discord. And any kind of late news that happens, I'll be updating everybody on how it's going to impact my lineups and what it means. But, Eric, how was your New Year's?
New Year's was nice. Went out for some sushi with the wife, met up with some friends, had a drink over at our local establishment down the street. For me, I had some stuff earlier a couple months ago where I wasn't able to like eat the way that I wanted to and do stuff like that. So this was exciting. Started taking some medication that helps my digestive system, and I was able to have sushi for the first time in about 3 months, and it was amazing. Didn't know that I missed it. It's not like a food that I crave ever. But it was an awesome time to just kind of go kick it, and came back to the house, sat around and fell asleep at 10:30. Woke up at midnight for the ball drop that was, 3 hours later because we're on the West Coast. But wife woke me up. We said, Happy New Year. Went right back to bed. So kind of the status quo night, but exactly what you want when you're 36.
Well, there we go. Eric, who I see still lying about your age. So 2024, Eric is not made a resolution to be honest about.
Well, your resolution surely wasn't to be nicer to me. There it is.
No, it was not. Nowhere at all was that a consideration to me. Never crossed my mind once. But Eric, thank you for trying to keep this charade going over there.
Thanks,
with what your age is. I've already got some super chats that are coming in. So let's read some of the first ones here of 2024. And if you guys have any questions for us in Discord, at me, and we'll answer those as we go. We've got, first, Jordan, we've got the super chats from Chris Williams and SC. They both gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. We've got a super chat from Corey Shea, ones before that. Was that from the previous show or is that for us? Did they answer anything? Okay. What about Bruce? By the way, Phil Sensing, I love the super chats you did.
Oh, it's so good.
The Bruce Booth question, did we answer that one? Okay. Okay, so we'll answer Corey Shea's, and then also shout out to Chris Williams and SC. Each of them gifted out 5 YouTube memberships. Guys, we really do appreciate the support to the YouTube channel. And then Corey Shea is asking us, Nurkic and Duren or Allen and Lopez? So we've got Corey here. He's looking to figure out which centers he wants to play. Eric, which side of the equation do you prefer, Nurkic and Duren? I know you've been a Duren guy.
I am.
Or Allen and Lopez?
So I have Jalen Duren to double-double at -150 today. It's a -155, best number, love it. From a DFS perspective, though, kind of lean towards the second one. Yeah, it's gonna be pretty close. Obviously, we can go to the player compare tool and just kind of look at the pure projections for him, but leaning towards the second one just from hearing the names.
All right, so Jordan, pull it up in the player compare tool. And it's gonna have to break a tie here because for me the answer is Nurkic and Duren. I am not getting to very much exposure to Jared Allen. And a big reason for that is because of the start times of the games, where I don't have, outside of Emmanuel Quickly, I'm not getting to very much exposure to that first game of the slate. And we'll talk about the trade and how that's going to impact the Raptors, because of course, Emmanuel Quickly and RJ Barrett traded to Toronto with OG Anunoby heading to New York. He made his debut for the Knicks earlier today, and it went pretty well. Knicks ended up winning the game. Anunoby played well. But yeah, so let's throw this in here, Jordan. We've got Nurk and Duren. And here we go. It is overwhelmingly in my favor. So I love to see this, how 2024 starts. 67% of the time, or 67.9% of the time, Nurkic and Duren over the 32.1% of Allen and Brook Lopez. I get that Jared Allen was like terrific.
His rebound rate has been out of control the last 3 games. I mean, they have gone to some lineups that I don't know what is going on, but his rebound rate has gone ballistic. That's kind of the first thing that I saw. And then I also saw that he was 5%. So I'm overweight to him on DraftKings, but totally understand your argument. And obviously anything with Jalen Duren involved, I'm just a stand for that guy, but he is really popular today. So for me, I was just thinking about it from an ownership perspective more than a projection basis.
Yeah, and something else to consider as well here is that the Nurkic-Duren combination does use up a lot more salary than the other side. So that's something else as well that maybe you didn't realize when we first were just looking at it as a question, is that Nurkic $500 less expensive than Allen. I do have a good amount of exposure to Nurkic because there is no Kevin Durant for the Phoenix Suns tonight. And then also Duren is $1,000 more expensive than Brook Lopez. So he's a much higher priority for me than Brook Lopez. So Nurkic and Duren, that's the way I go. And player compare tool is agreeing. Ace of Spade has left us a super chat. He wants to know Happy New Year's. And then, of course, DK tiers. First tiers of 2024, Eric. I have in tier 1, Luka Doncic. We've got some studs, real studs in tier 1. We got Luka, we got Giannis, we got Jokic. Halliburton in the tier, he doesn't really belong there. Like, I get you can't really put him in tier 2, but he's not quite the tier of those other guys right now. But it is Luka for me in tier 1. Eric, if you could pay up for anybody on the slate, who is it going to be? Is it Luka in tier 1 of tiers, or are you looking somewhere else?
It's Luka, but also keep into mind that the ceiling isn't as ballistic as what it's been. I assume Kyrie Irving's going to be playing basketball tonight, but I still have him 2.5 points higher projected than Jokic, so it is what it is.
So something else that's kind of funny about this is, so if I look at these guys in tier 1 and the exposures I get to them here, I go Luka 1, Jokic 2, Giannis 3. But then in my DFS lineups, I don't really get to Luka or Jokic, whereas I do get exposure to Giannis. So there is where there's a difference between how I'm looking at tiers versus the classic contest. Tier 2, pretty simple for me. Devin Booker with Kevin Durant out.
It's the easiest tier, yes.
Tier 3, that is going to be Şengün for me. It's fairly close between Şengün and Damian Lillard. But we've also got some players on the injury report for the Houston Rockets, most notably Jabari Smith Jr., unless something has changed in the last 2 minutes, which doesn't look like it has been the case. So it is Şengün for me in tier 3, and potentially even a stronger feeling towards that if Jabari Smith is rolled out.
Yes.
Tier 4. Tier 4. This is another tight one. I think you can make a case for pretty much anybody here.
Do you think Rozier plays tonight?
I have no clue.
I am leaning towards him being out, but it's just consideration because the only start time game that you know that you're going to get ownership for is the guy who's highest projected, Fred VanVleet. So I think what I'd probably be doing is just taking best available from the 6 p.m. or 9 p.m. Eastern time games and just fading VanVleet and watching how he does.
A bunch of these guys are just so close. Fred VanVleet, Lauri Markkanen, Terry Rozier, Brogdon, Jamal Murray. I mean, like all these guys win like a fantasy point of each other. I do agree that Fred VanVleet, best overall option based on projection. If you're looking to pivot off of him, I'd say Lauri Markkanen, probably the next best guy to look at there. Tier 5, that is going to be Nurkic for me once again with Durant out.
Nurk Daddy,
Tier 6. Tier 6. Oh, you're going to like this answer, Eric. I'm going to let you answer.
Bojan.
There we go. The great white hope, one of the most exotic players in the NBA and one of Eric's truly dearest and
King of the North. King of the North.
Bojan Bogdanovic. That's going to be the answer there in tier 6. Next super chat is coming to us here from Brandon Wagner. He says, Happy New Year's, guys. I'm struggling with value, 4K and under on DK. And then he wants to know, how are we handling the Rozier status? So I don't really know what to make of Rozier. The easiest way for me to go about and give myself some flexibility in the event that Rozier is rolled out. I don't have very much exposure to the Cleveland-Toronto game outside of Emmanuel Quickly. Quickly, somebody who I think you really have to get into lineups. I think he's going to start for the Raptors.
Smash.
I think he's going to also just be a monster for them. I think Quickly has been one of the most underutilized players in the league the last couple of years, and he should really get his chance to shine here in Toronto, and I assume they're going to give him a big contract extension after the season is over. So that aside, Brandon, in terms of what I am doing with Terry Rozier, let me see if I have any lineups with Rozier.
I mean, this is like the most classic example of Twitter just going ballistic over something that there doesn't need to be a winner and a loser in every trade. There can be both winners. And I think that's kind of what Toronto and New York are going to have. You couldn't have Emmanuel Quickly share a floor with Jalen Brunson and with Julius Randle, because both of those other two guys you've paid $1 bajillion to, and they need the ball in their hands to be effective. Quickly can play off the ball if need be. He also has like, a 60.2% true shooting percentage, the best of his career thus far this season. He is great on the defensive end the last 2 seasons, better than 80th percentile. He was 93rd percentile in terms of EPM on the defensive side of the ball last season. I mean, we're talking about a really good two-way player, and he kind of shores up some interesting things here for Toronto, because if he can shoot the ball better than Schroeder, who's just a 55.1% true shooting this season, I mean, you are looking at a much improved spot where you can then play him alongside Schroeder. Schroeder can create. Gary Trent can come off the bench. This is going to be, I think, a really good thing for both teams long term.
It's weird to me. I consider it a win and a loss for both teams at the same time for different reasons, because in the short term, I think it makes both of them better. But like for weird reasons, because one of the reasons it improves the Knicks is because they just weren't giving Quickly the minutes that he, in my opinion, deserved, and the minutes that he should have had, as good as he was. So you get to the spot where it's like, all right, the Knicks get better because they're bringing in a guy, Anunoby, who's going to fill a need. And then in addition to that, he's going to play a lot of minutes. Like, to me, it would have been a loss for the Knicks had they been playing Quickly like 32 minutes or something like he probably should have been playing before that. The other part of this, too, that's kind of weird from the Raptors standpoint is I think they got a good haul in Emmanuel Quickly. I don't really like the RJ Barrett contract.
Nobody does.
Any sort of hot take. But they were offered 4 first-round picks for Anunoby by the Grizzlies last year, and they turned it down. And now his contract is about to expire, and they gave up I think they got good value for what they could have gotten right now, but not quite would have been the 4 first-round picks from Memphis. And how nice would it be right now? You didn't know it at the time, but now if you're holding Memphis's first-round pick for this year, it would have been fairly valuable. But I think both teams get better while also probably could have gotten more out of it. Like the Knicks were negotiating a contract with Quickly prior to last season, and they decided to wait until it expired. That looks like a big fumble because, I mean, Quickly now is going to get paid like $100 million or something. What would have been worth if the Knicks signed him before last season? Like, I don't know, 4 years, $55 million or something. So different feelings in different ways. But anyway, we're playing Emmanuel quickly today.
Yes,
I don't
we
have
are.
exposure to Terry Rozier. I don't have a real strong lean on whether he's in or out either, Brandon. And then the other part of his question is, what value are we looking at? What guys under 4K are you prioritizing on DK, if any of them, Eric?
I don't think I am prioritizing any. I think that's the right answer. I mean, the pricing's been so good this year, so tight, I should say. I mean, good is relative. Some people like the tighter pricing, some people like it a little bit looser. Pat Connaughton, 3,900. He's somebody pulling quite a bit of ownership. I don't love 20% of him, but he has utility because of it. I think Isaiah Jackson probably has the best path to just smashing in any kind of an event. It's a 261.5 total. Isaiah Jackson backup center minutes. If something happens to Turner, if anything opens up there, 3,600 can be a guy that even in 10% of lineups, he's just such a good fantasy point per minute player, 1.22. But to call him any sort of priority other than just a dart throw would be misleading.
Yeah, there are no priority cheap guys. And by the way, Eric, my most rostered player who's sub 4K is Isaiah Jackson, but I have 10% of him. So
I have
it's
8,
not,
yeah.
It's not like there's any of these cheap guys I'm really dying to get to. I think this is a great slate for the mid-range. We just talked about how much we like Emmanuel quickly. And yes, he's going to be popular, but it's warranted. Same goes with somebody like Bradley Beal. Like Beal's looked fairly healthy the last couple of games. Now Kevin Durant is out. He's going to be very popular, but it is warranted. So that's where a lot of my lineups are being built, kind of is in that mid-range there. So no
head out of the gutter, chat.
Brandon.
Head out of the gutter. Head out of the gutter. It's okay. Happy New Year.
What happened?
I don't know. Just I'm saying tighter and looser, and they decided to go completely ballistic with it in an inappropriate fashion. We are all about being a family show on this fucking program.
Yeah, watch the language. But yeah, like Eric said, we all have preferences. And Eric pretending like he knows what anything tight feels like when we all know that. I mean, it's 2 inches, Eric. I mean, come on, everything's loose.
Such a cuck. That's me.
Let's see what else we have as far as the super chats are concerned. But Brendan, don't feel like you have to go and play cheap guys. It is there's no issue with building lineups that are balanced and in the mid range, which I think is the way to go for this slate, unless something drastic changes with value, like all the Dallas guys get ruled out or something like that. Don't think that's going to be the case, though. Next question, Phil Senzig. Eric, who puts the lotion in the basket tonight? Who's the lotion play of the night?
Oh, God, who is the lotion play of the night? Let's find out. Who is that fucking lotion play?
How is it not Bogdanovich?
How is it not Bojan? Lord Bojan, come to daddy. It's almost always Jalen Duren, but it's not going to be Jalen Duren tonight. I'm going to go with Jabari Walker at 5K. He feels like a great lotion play tonight. What is Portland going to do in this spot? Because obviously they have some kind of an obsession with starting Moses Brown for no reason. And then this Baji character has been playing minutes for them, like 14, 10 minutes or whatever. I don't get it. Eventually, don't you just play your best dude there in Jabari Walker? He's played, 30 minutes now, back-to-back games. The usage has come up, was knocking down shots, got to the line. He was very aggressive last game against the Spurs. Nice to see that. It's also weird to see Sacramento, San Antonio for the Bucks for the last couple of years. But Phoenix, no Kevin Durant. I don't know. This feels like a spot where, yeah, you could have Nurkic out there for some true center, but Jabari Walker is going to be a guy that they play at the 5 more than... I mean, Brown and Baji are so bad. Got to be Jabari Walker.
All right, Jabari Walker. That is the lotion play of the night from our friend Eric.
Sounds fun.
I can't believe he got away from Bogdanovich. Every time you talk about Bogdanovich, I think about the scene from South Park where Randy Marsh is at the computer, the episode where the internet goes out and then he gets access to just a little bit of internet. Yeah.
Yes.
I heard they got some internet out west there. Let's head out west, find some internet. And that's whenever you talk about Bogdanovich, I just think about Randy Marsh just sitting there, mess all over the room when he finds some internet.
Screw you guys, I'm gonna.
Let's see what we got for more questions. Chops wants to know, what is the best play for each position? Yes, sir. So I'll tell you my current lineups, who I'm getting the most of at each spot. Point guard, Bradley Beal.
Same.
Shooting guard, Emmanuel Quickly.
Same.
Small forward, that is Mathurin for me right now.
Middleton for me.
Okay. Power forward for me, I am getting to Jabari Walker the most.
Jabari Walker.
And then center for me is Nurkic.
Yep, same. We have the same other than Middleton for me, small forward.
1-2. It's the gentleman's YouTube handle there. 1-2 says, this is for Eric. I'm not allowed to answer this. This is only a question for you. What's more exotic, almond or oat milk?
Almond.
Okay, there we go. A lot of, you could tell Eric was very pensive answering that question. There's a lot of thought that went into his answer. June Sosa 21 wants to know, do you guys like Quickly or RJ Barrett on FanDuel? Yes, Quickly a whole bunch. I think Quickly
I am jamming today.
Yeah, Quickly on both FanDuel and DraftKings to me is one of the best overall plays on the slate. I know he's a little bit more expensive on FanDuel at $6,500. It's hard to know exactly what Quickly's role is going to be with the team, but there's an upside where if he's, somebody who's like 8K or something like that in the next, maybe that's a little high, but like 7,500 in the next couple of weeks wouldn't surprise me at all. So yes, I do like Emmanuel Quickly over on FanDuel, and RJ Barrett, not quite as much. And same goes for DraftKings. I have some exposure to Barrett, but nothing really significant. Quickly is a real priority for me, though. Is Barrett?
The minutes upside, the range of outcomes is maybe, I think it's actually probably tighter than people think it is. There it is again. But I think it's going to be very. What did I just see flip on my screen, Jordan Klein?
What's great about Eric is that he doesn't realize that there are things he says that he doesn't realize, things he does, things he says. He's trolling himself like 2 years in the future every time he does anything.
Okay, thanks. Emmanuel Quickly could be really, really good. And he's a fantasy point per minute guy. He was averaging 24 minutes a game in New York, which was just disingenuous for his talent level. So if Toronto uses him properly, this could get fun.
Yeah, so that's where I am at with Emmanuel Quickly as well. And listen, Josh has a storied history around here. There's everything on this channel. It always comes back. Eric does it. It's usually Eric he'll say or do something, from years ago.
Never going to financially recover from this.
And it comes back, and that's the way it goes around here. We don't forget. We never forget. Corey Shea, is Turner a better play than Duran and Nurkic? No, not my opinion. I'm really getting to, so I have Nurkic is my most rostered center, and Turner's like my 5th or 6th.
Turner is my 4th. So I have him a little bit higher than you do, but not by much.
Next question. We got 2 more super chats. Then we'll go into Discord and answer some questions. And of course, nuke of the night. First nuke of the night of 2024. As Eric will be the first one to tell you, nuke of the night in 2023 was one of the internet's greatest sensations.
Truly.
So people cannot wait for the 2024 iteration of nuke of the night. Tell the people how well it went one more time, Eric, because sometimes they forget.
It went really well. like maybe you don't get it, but it went well. To the moon, knocks in a moon, as they would say in The Mummy Returns.
My filler arc. Okay, guys, nighttime slate, so we can wait. But Nurk, Miller, and Zubac. Okay, so this is a 3v3. All right, so I'm just putting this together. My filler arc is asking us Nurk, Miller, and Zubac were Baji, Markkanen, and Harden. So
3v3.
I'm going to say Nurkic, Miller, and Zubac. Particularly, it's kind of hard to know without all the injury information, but just the potential to not have Terry Rozier for the Hornets, the potential to not have Kawhi Leonard for the Clippers. I'm going to go with the first part. Go Nurk, Miller, and Zubac.
Sure. Yes, we'll do that.
And then Phil Senzig wants to know best use of Sims when playing 5 to 10 lineups, not max. Same deal. I think you should do pretty much the exact same thing, but instead of favoriting 20, 50, or 150 lineups, just favorite the top 5 to 10 top ROI lineups. If there's a particular player that maybe you really like that's in like your 6th or 7th highest projected ROI lineup, then cool, you can play that instead of the 5th or the 10th one or whatever. But in general, yeah, just same exact thing. Run lineups through the contest generator, run them through the Sims tool, favorite the top 5, 10 by simulated ROI, and then make sure to stay on top of any late breaking news. So players get rolled out, make sure you're doing updates for anything that changes, for whether it's injuries, starting lineup changes, anything along those lines. Make sure you're running your lineups through the late swap tool for any of that kind of breaking news. And if anybody else wants to sign up for the NBA package, we've got links for that below. So if you want to sign up for the Sims, there's a package for that link below. If you want to sign up for just the lineup generator, that's less than $15. You just want the lineups that are built for you, where you could pick out some of the ones that you like that we've got up on the site. You do that as well. Links for all that below. But yeah, Phil, nothing real too significantly different. And if you want, you could always DM me on Twitter if you have any additional questions. Will the Bill wants to know, are Jop or Watanabe in play for a large field GPP? Headabates Jop or Yuta Watanabe? You getting either of these guys, Eric?
No.
Yeah, neither am I. I have a good amount of exposure to the Suns, but it's not from those guys. It's Bradley Beal, it's Nurkic, Devin Booker a little bit as well. I'm not getting as much as Booker as I thought I was going to earlier. And a big reason is because, like you had talked about before, when we were looking at some of the other super chats we had, the cheap options kind of suck today. And it does make it slightly prohibitive to get up to Devin Booker. So with that in mind, I'm prioritizing Beal and Nurkic over Booker. If I'm playing a cheap guy from the Suns, my favorite one is Nasir Little, but that's really not saying much. So Watanabe, Jop, if you're playing 150 lineups, add him in a lineup or two, like, okay. But I do prefer Little if I was punting, and he's still somebody who's in less than 10% of lineups for me.
Love.
All right, let's do it, Eric. Jordan hit the animation for the first time of 2024. Eric gets to relive the highest point for him in 2023, which was the handful of nukes of the night that went off for him. So Jordan, make sure to play the animation. Here it is. Look how excited he is. And it crashes down to earth and explodes. I don't know that we put enough talk into the fact that you do die at the end of Nuke of the Night, Eric. Do you ever think about that? The animation, there's no way you survive that. You are riding a nuke. It's right in between your legs. So you're exploding penis first. And then you give out your favorite DFS play of the night.
Well, in the spirit of that observation, Tyrese Halliburton is tonight's nuke of the night. The guy was 11K as recent as what? 3-4 games? Well, it's been a little bit longer than that, like a week and a half ago. Back on the 20th of the 18th, he was sitting at 11-3, 11-1. And then a little bit of a quote-unquote slide down into the 60s and 70s. This offensive performance that he's putting up this season is absolutely outrageous. And you talked about it before. Giannis Antetokounmpo, he gets to face a Milwaukee team, but I don't think it can be stated enough how nice of a matchup this is for Tyrese Halliburton as well, getting to face Damian Lillard and company, because Milwaukee, 102.4 possessions per 48 minutes, 119.6 adjusted offensive rating. So they're adding a lot there on that end of the floor. But their defensive rating has slid dramatically. That's what's going to happen when you take Drew Holiday off the floor, when you only have Chris Middleton for 32-ish minutes a night for a majority of the time. They have 115.5 adjusted defensive rating. That's the points allowed per 100 possessions, which is adjusted for strength of schedule. I put him into my sheet, and I started uploading stuff, and it got a little bit weird when it had Tyrese Halliburton as a 1.6 fantasy point per minute producer in this matchup. He's 1.56 for the season. I have him nearly at 60 fantasy points, and nobody is playing him because, as you said, it's tough to get there. But he's $700 cheaper than Giannis. He's $500 more than Devin Booker, who isn't playing a lot of ownership, but we'll see. We'll see. Something tells me people know Kevin Durant's out, and it might end up steamed up. Give me Tyrese Halliburton just about every time here. If this game stays competitive, it's going to go ballistic, and part of that reason would be Tyrese Halliburton.
So for me, I'm going to answer, and by the way, good call there on Tyrese Halliburton, Eric. I think 2024 is going to start just as well for you as 2023.
Thanks, Bud. Thanks.
Other than the fact that you just exploded penis first in an animation there. That aside, I have got my nuke of the night here, and for me, I'm going with Alperen Şengün.
Love.
And there's a lot of not like super high-end guys that I'm dying to pay for. Not because like I wouldn't want to play guys like Jokic and Luka, but really just because we have a lack of value on the low end, which means that we have to find some of these second tier stars to be getting up to. And Şengün is just getting overlooked by the field to me, barely over 10% ownership. We've got the potential for Jabari Smith Jr. to be out. So he would only look even better if Jabari doesn't play. And I'm already overweight to the field on Şengün as is. So Şengün, that is my first nuke of the night of 2024, Eric. And we got the starting lineup for the Raptors. Yep. As expected, it is quickly Barrett, Barnes, Siakam, Jakob Poeltl. That is your new starting five
to the moon.
The Toronto Raptors up north.
I'm probably just gonna have 100% of him today. Sims loves him. I love him. I was always planning on jamming to some extent, but like it might just be just having it verified here. There's just no way to get away from him at 5K. Puts up 25, 30. I feel like you're gonna need him on a slate like this.
Let's see what we have in the Discord channel now. One of the perks of having a Stochastic membership is you do get access to our Discord channel, and I'm really making an effort to spend as much time in there as I possibly can, which is why as soon as the show ends, what do? I hang out in Discord, we sweat the games, and then anything that happens as far as breaking news, lineup changes, we talk about in the Discord and the fallout of that, and any packages you guys are interested in signing up for at Stochastic, there's links for all of them below in the description box. The first question that we have from the Discord channel is from Captain Akello. He wants to know who's somebody that we like in single entry who maybe we like even more than in a large field tournament. So talked before, my most rostered center on the slate is Nurkic, and I do think he's getting a little bit, not that he's somewhat popular with 26% projected ownership, but I think it should be even higher than that. So Nurkic is somebody I like quite a bit for single entry. Yourself, Eric?
I think so too. I like Nurkic, and then I'm talking about spend ups here. Giannis is rightfully very, very popular. Sims Tool loves Giannis. I'm going to be playing him along with some Halliburton, and that's what I'm looking at for one lineup. Kind of toying with this other one though that has Scotty Barnes. We don't know exactly. Again, 5K here. It's just going to make it impossible for me to get away from quickly. I think he should be somebody you're just kind of presetting a lot of lineups with. But I do think RJ Barrett, this is going to be an interesting, fascinating watch. He had a 27.3% usage with New York. That has to come down, I would think, playing alongside some of these other players. If they let quickly out there with a longer leash, I expect his usage to come up from 24%. But Scotty Barnes is a guy who's just filling out the box score. He has that point guard, small forward eligibility. Kind of like him as a contrarian spend up on a slate like this today too. Just cheap enough where I can still make other things work, where 11K for Giannis in some builds, looking at Halliburton, even my guy 10-3 there. And then, of course, Jokic and Doncic. They're just so hard to get to. Give me some Scotty Barnes in my life too.
I don't mind that either. Scotty Barnes, somebody you, and another reason I like Scotty Barnes as well is in the event that we get news later that opens up more value, like if Terry Rozier's out, then it's kind of nice that you get exposure to another one of those guys who's priced in like that 9K-ish range in Scotty Barnes, because he'd be easier to fit into lineups should we have some spots, reserved. And I don't know if I'm really explaining this properly, but basically, like if we had more value available to us now, Barnes would probably be relatively popular. So he's somebody who could end up being under-owned just because of that, because the value doesn't open until later. Exactly. Next question that we have here is from JEW, and he wants to know, Eric, so I like this new bit where we just come up with bizarre things to ask Eric every night, but still DFS related, so it's in the spirit of the show. But JEW wants to know, Eric, what is the Stanley Bottle play of the day?
So what's going to make me go like this? Just...
We've just come up with different ways to make Eric give out some of his favorite tournament options of the night.
I mean, I'm doing a good job. I'm giving you good information. I'm trying. So instead of the lotion play of the night, which was, Jabari Walker, just he fits in nice lineups nicely. And I do think 30-ish minutes on the table here, barring, Nurkic completely eviscerating him. But Chris Middleton. Okay. 7,100. We've got him at 22.5% owned. Chris Middleton, we've talked about it where it's like, oh, eventually he's going to play this many minutes. He's been right 32, 33, 32, 33. He has not gone over 33 minutes in a game yet. He's eventually going to play 35, 36 minutes in a game within this month. So just get ready to have an underpriced Chris Middleton at some point. Might as well play him against Indy here on the other side. I just like the entire game. I know a lot of people are getting to a lot of pieces of that game, whether it's him, Giannis, talked about Halliburton as a contrarian tournament play, Neesmith. Like, this game is just awesome. Benedict Mathurin showing up in the Sims tool. Lots of ways to just throw that all together. So that'll make me explode, if you will.
All right, so there we go. That is the first Stanley Bottle play of the day of 2024, and
hopefully the last. Hopefully the last.
The first of many Stanley Bottle plays of the year. And I'm going to tell you guys the best way that you could help yourself and build your bankroll, even more so than the Stanley Bottle play of the day, is signing up at Better using the link we have below. This is going to be up to $500 bonus on your first deposit. Put that money in your pocket and Stanley Bottle it. So that's a good way to go. Sign up at Better using the link that we have below. Let's see what else we have as far as questions go here. This one is from Hef Love. Wants to know what Pacers players we are prioritizing. Yeah, let me pull up the Pacers. So the Pacers I have the most of, there's not like one guy who I'm like jamming from the Pacers, but the ones I have the most of are Nembhard and Mathurin. And then beyond that, I've got like Halliburton, Miles Turner, Neesmith, a couple of punch shots on Isaiah Jackson. I guess prioritizing, I'll say Nembhard and Mathurin though.
Yep, Nembhard, Mathurin, and Tyrese Halliburton I have in 30%, so I'm triple the field there.
Now let's see what we have for the next question. Miami High Life wanted to know who was Eric's New Year's Day nuke of the night, and yeah, Eric went with Tyrese Halliburton for the first nuke of the night of 2024. Pusha is asking for DK single entry. What are your top pay up options outside of Indiana versus Milwaukee? All right, so top pay up options that are not in the Indiana Milwaukee game. Şengün in the Houston game.
Yeah, that's mine too. I was very happy to hear you say Şengün because I am well over the field on him as well.
Ninja Black 47 wants to know Miles Bridges or Jamal Murray. So I'm going to say Jamal Murray as of now, but this is one where it's kind of hard to put data to because if Terry Rozier doesn't play, Bridges becomes much better looking. So I'm going to say Bridges, and then you hope that Rozier doesn't play. We're going to want to be getting to Hornets guys if Rozier is out. Eric, Bridges or Murray?
Got to be Bridges. Just hoping for Bridges there. I bet it's 3.5 assists. I think that's a good number at plus 110 to be getting 3.5 in the event that Rozier's out. I mean, he's just going to, not that he's going to be playing with the ball in his hand more, but he's going to be playing with the ball in his hand more. So have fun. Next
question is from Einstein. He wants to know, what am I going to do with Metu tonight? Probably being on the wrong side of him, which is what I've done.
For sure.
Like every Metu.
Oh, yeah. I played a ton of him on Christmas, and it didn't matter because, I didn't, I don't know what I did on Christmas. There was just so much yelling and screaming at my house from people and kids and people opening gifts and freaking out. And I would like try to sneak out to go change my exposures, and I would always screw it up. And by the time we got to the last game of the night, I'm like, oh, all I have is Luka and Metu, but everybody had Luka and I had the Metu side. And I'm like, oh, but my lineups are completely dead before I even got there. So it didn't matter.
I'm not playing Metu. He's also like fairly expensive now. Yeah. And I know we've seen his minutes are so crazy because there's no like rhyme or reason for it. So there was the game against the Kings where I remember I was fairly high on Metu and he ends up playing 13 minutes that game. Like, all right, I guess that, and this was at the time when Nurkic was out. So then I started thinking, like, all right, I guess Nurkic being out doesn't really impact Metu. And then he plays 34 minutes the next game and has like the game of his life. But he hasn't played 20 minutes since then. Nurkic is back. I'm not playing Metu tonight. I know that we do have Kevin Durant out. I don't think that's going to meaningfully impact Metu's minutes. I could be wrong. I've not been on the right side of Metu the entire season. But Metu, I'm not playing tonight.
It's just you're embracing such massive minutes volatility to try to aim for a ceiling on a guy who's already pulling some type of ownership because people see the 50 spot and they're like, oh, this would be a lot of fun. But a lot of his damage that he did on that Christmas Day game was just eviscerating the backup unit there for Dallas. They didn't have Derek Lively on the floor. They had Nurkic off the floor for a lot of it. And then Metu ended up getting some closing rotation. I think he started the second half too. Can't remember entirely, but I watched almost that whole game. He was outrageous, but 19 rebounds is such an outlier. I mean, the guy is averaging 5.5, 3.5, and a half over the course of this season. I mean, I understand that that's more of a minutes thing. He averages 12.5 minutes a game, but even as you put him up there, I can't project him for over 20, and he's 5K. So no, thank you.
Mr. Cool Cam is asking us top 3 favorite plays on FanDuel. So for FanDuel, my 3 favorite options I get the most of: Bradley Beal, Jayshawn Tate, Chris Middleton. So hopefully that helps you with your lineups there, Mr. Cool
Isn't
Cam.
Tate just the worst play to click on in your life, though? I hate playing Jayshawn Tate. The only reason that I can somewhat stomach it is it gives us an extra half hour of news here, and hopefully something drops here with Charlotte that we can get away from it.
$4,100. It's a position on FanDuel. So he also played 35 minutes last game.
It would be fun if he did something with it one time.
It's also FanDuel because of the positions, and also it's like DraftKings. He's a whatever guy to me. He's not somebody that I really get to in any kind of meaningful. That'll change if Jabari Smith is rolled out. But for FanDuel, where he's $4,100, we know he's starting. it's tough to not say Jay Sean Tate is a good play on FanDuel. So Mr. Cool Cam, he's in the mix for me there. He's going to be starting. He's going to play a lot of minutes, and Jabari Smith might be ruled out.
They should give Cam Whitmore more run. He actually looks fun out there.
Yeah, I haven't really gotten to see him play much because he's only been in pretty much in garbage time.
Yep.
But he was he fell in the draft, but he was somebody who's well regarded prior to the draft process. Let's speed this up a little bit. Lots of questions coming in right here. SC says, thanks, guys. Your analysis has helped me a lot and developed me into a much better player. Had a nice weekend and now subscribe to the NFL and NBA Stochastic packages. SC, thank you very much for the support. We appreciate you. And thank you for the kind messages as well. And hopefully 2024 is kind to you as well. 2023 was a good one for me as well. Sam Van Dam, DK for 5,500 or less at forward. He already has Jabari Walker. At 5,500 or less, Eric, who are we going to tell him to play?
I have one contrarian guy that is kind of interesting. I mean, obviously, Jalen Smith is somebody that at 5,200 you can still click on. I would love to see the minutes ramped up a little bit. This is maybe one of those spots where, you get Portis Lopez on the floor for certain stints. Maybe they bring Smith out a little bit earlier. But yeah, the minutes aren't exactly fun to be noticing here. Jabari Walker, he already has him, so that is off the table. One guy I keep staring at is Derek Jones Jr. I'm not sure what the minutes are going to look like when they get Kyrie back here and Exum back. Well, I mean, Exum has been there, but he was questionable coming into today. I think Derek Jones is just one of those guys that can randomly pop off for 35, 40 from time to time. And when he's knocking down corner threes, which is basically his only role on this team, is to sit in those corners and kind of have it be created. And then, eventually cut to the rim, and he has some highlight dunks having Luka create for him. But I mean, 35-ish minutes in some competitive spots here. I'm kind of willing to roll with a little bit of that at 5,200.
Okay. So for me, I am going to go with Aaron Nesmith, mostly just because of the game environment. It's outside of Jabari Walker. I don't really see that many guys I really love around that price range at forward. So I'm going to go with Aaron Nesmith for the game environment there. Brandon Wagner says, I just wanted to say I appreciate the two of you. And I was just thinking I usually follow Lindy's likes and locks. I'm about to adjust my lineups to lock quickly. You guys are funny and dropping fantastic info every slate. I can't read apparently, but other things I do. Yeah, I do other things good. I don't read good. But other things.
Chimezie Metu's starting.
Oh, my God.
Fuck my life, and everything I said is a lie. So here we are.
Oh, my God. All right. So let's see. What are we going to consider?
Hopefully that guy didn't just log off now after we talked about the minutes volatility and everything, because none of it matters. Everything I said is horrendous. One thing I do want to do is run some rates for him sharing a floor with Devin Booker and Nurkic on the season. But Chimezie Metu's starting now. This is disgusting. Eric Gordon on track to play. But yeah, 49 Chimezie Metu. So everything I said, take it off the table. He's starting.
Yeah, he's definitely in play. One thing, though, a word of caution is that he's made 2 starts this year. He played 20 and 25 minutes. So I don't think this means that Metu is locked into big minutes. I know you'd mentioned the minutes volatility. He's starting. He's in play. Before I said I wasn't going to play him. That's not going to be the case anymore. I'm going to end up playing Metu. But he's not somebody who's in 100% alignment or anything like that.
No, but here's the thing that's nice about getting extra exposure to him and just kind of putting more of him in the next 10 minutes before we get to lock. It just gives you more maneuverability with Charlotte news. And before it was playing a lot of Walker, I know that he is going to be at the same lineup spot in a lot of those. He's pulling 25% ownership. You could just add some more Metu to the fray as well now. And if something happens where Rozier ends up being out, or for me, I think Cody Martin's a guy that they're going to want to start sooner rather than later because he's actually competent, whereas Bryce McGowan's is not. I think that, I'd be getting to my Cody Martin 4,600 with him off the floor. I'd want to get to more Bridges, and he's at a power forward spot. So just shoring up power forward. We'll have Nurkic exposure. We'll have more swappability. Half the slate locks at 9 p.m. Eastern time. All the more reason to just get more Metu than you think you should get right now and clean it up later.
Next question here is from Corey Shea. Corey's asking us if Jabari Smith is out, is Eason a better play than Bojan? No, because there's no scenario where Eason plays 30 plus minutes. We saw the team say earlier that Eason, they're going to be committed to a 25 to 27 minutes restriction. So I prefer Bojan to Eason, regardless of whether Smith is in or out. Eric, how about for yourself?
Same.
Next question, the unstoppable Milo Nowhere. Eric,
I don't. I already am nervous.
Eric, who is the TD Jakes power bottom play?
What?
I don't know. John Collins is the name closest to, what was it, Jaron Collins or whatever? So John Collins, I guess. I don't know.
Those are weird people. You're really weird people. And why? Are
you going to help him with his question? Who's the TD Jakes power bottom play?
I would love his rationale so that I can at least help him out. There's certain things where I'll create the character of what it is. The lotion play of the night is whatever I want it to be on that specific night. This, I need some context. I need some help. TD Jakes power bottom LMAO. I have no clue what that is.
All right. So I think it has to be. So here's one, because I'm going to go with a little guy, right? I think that's what makes the most sense.
What?
So Ish power bottom. So I'm going to go Ish Smith in the case that, so this is going to be player who benefits from a player who's out, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm going to say Ish Smith. He could end up starting at point guard in the case Terry Rozier doesn't play.
Okay.
Come on, Eric.
Okay, sorry.
You really mean to tell me?
I can tell you one thing it isn't. It's not James Book night, is never James Book night.
I mean, Eric just didn't come prepared for his TD Jake power bottom play of the night. Riley Cooper 14 wants to know, is there any blowout risk in the Charlotte game? Yeah, there's 16.5 point underdogs. There definitely is. And then he wants to know how many minutes for RJ Barrett. I think Barrett's going to play a bunch today. I think we see Barrett play minutes in the mid 30s. You know, it's hard to exactly say because it's his first time with a new team, but I'm going to say like 35. James,
I think that sounds like fun. I mean, I have him in for 31 right now. So
James Magruder, 5,900 or less for a shooting guard or a small forward, but the caveat here is that it cannot be Emmanuel Quickly or Jabari Walker. So 5,900 shooting guard or small forward, not Quickly or Walker. Let's see. Man, this is tough.
Welcome to hell, which is this range.
I'll
he healed?
I'll say RJ Barrett.
Yeah, actually, it'd be RJ Barrett. I'm with you.
All right, it's new scenario, wide range of outcomes. People aren't getting there. If you are going to get off of Quickly in a lineup, I think Barrett's the most reasonable pivot to make there. So James Magruder, I'm going to say RJ Barrett as your other.
I'd say it's just Dennis Schroeder, but yeah, I'm with. RJ Barrett's going to be playing alongside both of them.
JEW wants to know thoughts on putting Ish Smith and Jokic in a DK single entry in case Rozier is out, and then he says he could swap to Brogdon and Nurkic if he's in. Sounds good to me. I think that's good planning. Makes sense. You've got a good plan. You got a good backup plan. Go with the JEW. Chalupas and Chicken wants to ask us, what's up? Hope you guys had a good New Year's, and then wants to know, who do we have a better lean on between Duren or Turner on DraftKings? I have more exposure to
Duren.
Then we've got the Black Mamba 8724 wants to know, what are we doing with Ish Smith if Rozier is out? Playing him if he starts. I assume he's going to start. We have to see though.
Did we get Metu updated, or am I just going to change it in my projections here?
I can look right now if we have it updated.
We did. Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
put him up to 24. Yeah, that's higher.
Updated. So for everybody who's wondering, our updated projection on Chimezie Metu is Metu playing 25 minutes, and that has him with a projection of 24.21 fantasy points on DraftKings, and on FanDuel that gets him to 24.1. So 4,500 salary from on FanDuel with the power forward eligibility. I think that he is definitely somebody who serviceable on both sites, but definitely looks better on FanDuel than he does on DK. Next question here is Ninja Black 47. Any upside for DeAndre Jordan tonight if the game is a blowout? I wouldn't chase a blowout to that extent.
Nope.
That's a no for me.
Nope.
Nicola 9292 wants to know Nurkic and Mathurin versus Şengün and Little on DK. I'm going to say Nurkic and Mathurin. How are you doing on your lineups, by the way, Eric?
I'm good. I'm just rerunning some stuff here. Okay. Not that I already have placeholders in, so I'm not too worried about it. I think it's pretty clear cut what I'm doing with Toronto. I'm just playing 100% Emmanuel Quickly, and that's not going to change even in the reruns. So I'm not terribly worried about it.
Next question here is from KML650 DKGPP. This is a 2v2. Devin Booker and Brook Lopez, or Tyrese Halliburton and Jabari Walker. Interesting. Let's pull up the player compare tool real quick before we finish out here. Jordan, if you could do us that favor. And also, if you guys are looking for betting information, go check out OddsShopper. Eric and I are in the Discord channel. We post some of our favorite bets of the day. So if you sign up at OddsShopper, it comes with our market-based betting algorithm. You also get access to our Discord channel, as well as some of Eric and I's favorite bets of the day. You could sign up there using the link that we have below, and then use the promo code either Greg or Lindy, and that gets you 20% off when you sign up for the first time.
Use Greg. Greg is a nice human being. Give it to Greg.
Well, that is patently not true, but I appreciate you saying that.
Oh, yeah, he's a piece of shit. Never mind.
Yeah, it is Booker and Brook Lopez on one side, and then Halliburton and Walker on the other side. Then we've got a super chat from Brandon Wagner. Wants to know, is it an issue to play Metu and Nurkic together?
No.
No, I am totally fine with it.
Yep, no problem with it at all.
Now let's see what we have here. So on one side, Devin Booker and Brook Lopez. On the other side, Tyrese Halliburton and Jabari Walker. It is super close. We have a slight lean here but on the Halliburton and Walker side, 52.4% to 47.6%. In addition to that, you got pretty similar ownership. So let's just go with the Halliburton Walker side, but very, very close. So I don't think you can really go wrong with either of those there. Eric, just about a minute left to go here. Any final thoughts on the slate before we head into live?
How much Andrew Nembhard are you getting to?
Let's see.
Again, this is just a game environment that I feel like if you're just overweight to it, you're probably playing this slate semi-correctly, just based on what the Sims tool is doing, getting to a lot of these like mid-range plays. Met2 changes a little bit. Again, I have like 5-ish% of him right now, getting to a lot of Jabari Walker still, but like, I will say that game environment's one where like, even if it just hits a standard 270 over, there's so many pieces that are in that 4 or 5K range that I think you're probably just in a really good spot. And then playing a lot of quickly, of course.
Oh, some quick questions here. Want to make sure we answer all this before we finish here. One that came in, we've got Clyde saying he's not getting to any of Emmanuel quickly on FanDuel. Should I be worried? It depends how many lineups you're playing. He's more expensive on FanDuel than DraftKings at $6,500. So I do think you should be getting exposure to him there. But if you're like playing 1 or 2 lineups on FanDuel at $6,500, don't have exposure to him, I wouldn't say you should be worried. If you're playing like 150 and you have none of quickly, yeah, I'd say that's an issue. One final time, Eric, before we leave. The TD Jake power bottom play of the night. Who is it for me?
So we're going out. We're leaving on that. Damian Lillard. I'm talking about this game environment, playing a lot of Tyrese Halliburton. I know Giannis is going to be popular. Positionality matters, but I don't mind a little 8,900 Damian Lillard against a 3rd percentile defender in Tyrese Halliburton. Seems like fun.
All right, there we go. There we go, guys. We pulled it out of him. We got it. We did all show the last 15 minutes.
Started from the bottom and we closed at the bottom.
And there we got it. Started at the bottom and now we're still here. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it yet, like the video, subscribe to the YouTube channel. I'll be hanging out in Discord. Oh, Jabari Smith, by the way, available to play today. So we got that piece of news just before we finished here. I'm be hanging out in Discord for the next couple of hours until all the games lock. So hope to see you guys in there. If you want to sign up for any Stochastic package, links below in the description box. Peace out, everybody. Have a great night.